What's up, everyone? We're back with a very special episode with a bunch of guys on the couch. I'm wearing shorts, and I'm feeling good. So, welcome to this episode of the show.
You staying home tonight?
Lost enthusiasm.
I hadn't planned on it, no.
Plan on it.
Minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
You're gonna die.
I'm Raymond Arroyo. We'll see you next time.
All right, what's up, everyone? We're back with the show. Adrian is in the closet. Kyle's out of the closet on the couch.
It's a great time. Oh, thanks to our Patreon subscriber, Nate Wynans, who specifically requested that I be on the show.
He paid a little bit extra, and that got Kyle out of the closet.
And that's real. Nothing gets someone out of the closet like cold hard cash.
We also have a repeat guest, Juke, crowd favorite. They requested you.
Oh, I think that's only because the crowd is the people that work here.
That's true. That's very true.
It's not the paying customers. We can't all get that. Juke does have a job where people pay money to see him relatively regularly.
I got my hair cut. Look at this, guys. I got my hair cut by Juke.
Wow.
So I don't know if this looks good on camera right now, Juke, but if you
I think it looks very
I don't know
nice.
if you want to own up to
You're
this.
a little washed out in the lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, mine got a fresh cut. Like,
Should have got a tan. I didn't
Adrian
know
got a
you'd
fresh
be
cut.
unveiling
Show
it.
Adrian's hair.
Yeah, pretty good.
Just like this week, right?
Adrian's is actually fresh.
Yesterday, yeah.
How often does a white person have to cut their hair to be considered fresh?
Whoa.
It's not even
Whoa.
a minute.
Trick question.
Yeah.
It was a leading question, Your
I
Honor.
feel like that's the setup to a joke. You have to look both ways before you tell.
No, I mean,
I
like,
don't want to.
Edmund and I have
Is this a bit, Kyle?
No, Edmund and I have similar
Is
hair.
this a bit?
What I mean is, when my
We
freshman
do
year
not
of
have similar hair.
college,
You have good. Show them your hair. You have good, thick
thank
hair.
you. But like, I was in college. I had a roommate who was Dominican. He told me he gets his hair cut every week to look fresh.
Wow.
I thought that was crazy, right? He had short hair, it was a little nappier than mine. How often does a guy with hair like mine have to cut his hair to be considered? Oh yes.
Yeah, but did your roommate? Your roommate had a
Okay.
really tight.
yes. It was a
That's
tight
why
deal.
you got to get it more often, right? That's why you got to get it more often.
Like most things, drawing the line on race is missing the mark a little bit.
yeah,
How often would I then? A guy named Kyle over
If this is your style.
yeah, Jewish American.
Not that Jewish.
Okay, so
But not Jewish.
Marines have to get a haircut every week, and they have to get a bald fade, and there's a bunch of regulations. But the reason they have to do it every week is because that's about how long a bald fade lasts.
Yeah,
Okay.
Otherwise, it looks like crap. The more contrast that there is between the part that's growing out and the part that is the haircut is going to determine how long it lasts. So women normally get their haircut every couple of months, maybe a couple times a year, depending
well, we don't
on
want
their
to
style.
be. We don't want to be gender
Some women
exclusive.
get their hair cut like once a
I
year.
mean, persons have hair, right? Like, I mean, gender's not.
The word is people.
Yeah, like genders doesn't
Sure,
matter.
it's more of a generalization of style.
Oh, so
and
you were
what's
generalizing
in
based on gender.
vogue.
Well, I suppose I asked a very generalized question. That's
Yeah, I
something
was.
I always try to remember is that hair is a lot more individual than I realized.
I think hair
right?
is a social construct created by the man to keep down the woman.
Same with fingernails.
Yeah. Wait,
Fingernails
no,
and hair.
fingernails are definitely a real thing. I see
No,
them.
fingernails are. It's like the dead skin cell thing. It's like we spend all this time on our dead skin cells. It's the same.
Oh,
deal.
okay. Like, it's just pointless.
They're both keratin, hair and fingernails.
That's true.
And as you know, keratin is a social construct, so
Interesting.
Created by the man
whereby
to keep down the weak.
The man.
the man.
We have had
You know,
a lot of
that's something I give white people credit for historically.
The man.
taking the phrase "the man."
Just kind of distinguishing themselves from the man. Like some of us are the man and some of us are not, but the ones that are not are trying to take him down.
What do you like better, the man or they? I've always liked the idea of they don't want that.
Sure, it's
They don't want
appealing,
us.
but it's more of a fallacy.
Yeah.
It's more of a fallacy because the man's more singular and they's more plural. Do you
They
think
don't
there's
want
like
us to
a
have
figurehead?
guns.
No, it's more like the way that and I mean this very genuinely. This is not a bit, but like it's a good point that you bring up. So like in the Marine Corps, I learned that there is no Marine Corps really. Like
What?
it's just Marines. It's just a bunch of people that are just making decisions individually. So your experience in a unit is not a great representation of the entire Marine Corps. It was just like you had one first sergeant that was awesome or horrible.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you really, really humanize most scenarios, it's like there really is no system. It's a bunch of groups of people kind of doing things collectively.
Yeah.
And so when you say they, you're really talking about nobody, or even worse, you're talking about like 3 people.
Yeah.
Or it's like a bunch of people trying to live out their version of the ideal of what a Marine means, well, like what it means to be a Marine.
Sure, and
Yeah.
based on their experiences, they have wildly different definitions of what that looks like. Like some Marines, some men or women join the Marine Corps and go, well, Marines are like raging alcoholics that show up to work and work hard and then get off work and play really hard.
Yeah. So I better
And that's
work.
like their idea.
Yeah.
So they join and they're like, I'm just going to try to fit in, even though nobody around them is asking them to
Everyone's
do
like,
that.
hey man, no, we just play.
And they're like, no, I get it. And you're like,
No,
do
no,
you?
we just play Mexican trains after work.
was
Like,
saying
we
that
just play spades
stereotype-
in the fields,
Yeah.
dude. We just live in tents and
you know,
play
just play
spades.
Jenga and drink tea.
With that said, last week I've got a very close buddy of mine who's a Marine. He's out
It's
in
actually
Fort
Mountain Dew.
Sill. And how funny is this? After work on a Friday night, they went out to some rural bar in Oklahoma.
Sure.
And my buddy John, who, has a few drinks, and by a few I mean a lot, and decides he's going to punch the punching machine.
Okay.
It's one of those deals you punch it and a score goes up and you measure your masculinity by your score on a machine, right?
Oh, no.
And he broke his finger doing it.
What?
Yes.
So my question is for you, Juke, as a former Marine, or a Marine, I don't know what the lexicon is.
Doesn't matter.
What would the reaction of your typical commander, drill sergeant, I don't know what the phrase is, be if you rolled up Monday morning, oh, how's your weekend?
Broke finger.
Broke finger.
In the Marine Corps, it would be if you can't perform your duties because of an injury sustained while drinking on liberty, then you're in trouble because it's considered damaging government property.
Oh.
That's
Like
a
if-
scary thought.
Like your body's government property.
Absolutely.
yeah.
If you
Dude.
get sunburnt, it's because of a lack of preparedness.
Yeah.
If you get sunburnt while on liberty because you're at a baseball game and wore shorts,
Yeah.
like you're displaying
Don't
for all
point
us.
them out. Don't point them out.
If you were like third deck because
Yeah.
you got the cheap seats,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're just at Petco Park because you're stationed in San Diego, and you got
You're
sun
mistreating.
beams just lapping at those milky white
It
thighs,
sounds great.
you're gonna get up after 7 innings because nobody stays for 9,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be like, "Oh no, I'm sunburnt,
Yeah.
and I got a 5-mile run tomorrow morning." And then you go to bed and you wake up and you're Charlie horsing because your body's trying to like heal and process, and you show up to PT and you're all jacked up. You're like, I can't do this. I got to go to medical. And you go to medical and they give you like duty chit. You can get back to work. And they're like, hey, guess what, buddy? We're charging you.
Because you damaged government property.
What do you mean by charging you? Like a fine?
Okay. So whenever you get in trouble, and I don't understand. So I've learned that different branches of service call it different things. So like, I can't really explain the equivalent.
Right.
It's the same experience, but the verbiage is going to be different. But in the Marine Corps, you can get a page 11, which is like a written counseling in the civilian world, but it stays in your record book for a while.
Okay.
Then you can get an NJP on a company level, which is NJP stands for non-judicial punishment. So it's like very official. We're meaning very serious stuff here, and there's going to be an actual punishment, not just a written counseling. But on a company level, the stakes are pretty low. It can affect your career, unfortunately, but you can only get put on like restriction, which is kind of like a house arrest for like 14 days or something like that. If it's really bad, they'll do a battalion level NJP. And then if it's worse, then you can get court-martialed. And court-martial has 3 different layers with different, burden of proofs and statute of limitations and all that kind of stuff, and different escalating like stakes, like what can happen to you if you lose. And that's like the movie A Few Good Men. It's like that was a court-martial.
Yeah, it was court-martial. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very
So
interesting.
you went to Marine boot camp?
Yes.
What was that like? I think I could make it through. Kyle, do you think you make through Marine boot camp?
I'll be
I think
honest.
it's a mental thing,
Up
right?
until
It's a
2
mental
years
thing.
ago,
Almost 100%.
I
Yeah.
thought the Marines were equal in difficulty to the Navy SEALs. I thought that was how it worked. Like the Marines
Navy
are the
SEALs
best.
are more difficult
Navy SEALs are like a pretty good degree of difficulty higher. Is that right? Or am
than
I-
Marines.
I'm sure it's debated. I don't know how long Bud's is, but I also know that it's not 13 weeks. And then I would say that it's not fair to compare them.
right?
I would be willing to admit that Bud's is probably based on just the boat stuff alone that they do.
And
with,
buds
like,
is what
rafts.
the SEALs do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basic underwater, deep sea.
Military guy. This guy probably watched the David Goggins podcast or
Yeah,
something.
for sure. My dad was in the Air Force. He flew a desk.
Yeah.
He flew a desk.
Yep, he was a zoomie. He was in the Air Force for like flying, but he never flew a plane, so he flew a desk.
Okay.
He was a malingerer, and he faked an
What's a
injury.
malingo? Is that a racial slur?
No.
It's cool, you can
but
say
it's
it.
just as bad. Yeah.
Just
They call them zoomies if they go to the Air Force Academy. I've learned.
oh.
Does they zoom through?
I don't know, just zoomies. I don't know.
I wanted to be in the Air Force for a little bit, but then I found
had
out
this
I
joke.
would never fly a plane because I have bad vision.
Oh, they got
dad
more
too.
jobs than that.
But I wanted to fly a plane. I
Oh. My
wanted
dad's
to be
a-
in the
my
Air
dad-
Force to work at
my
a
dad's a
desk.
project-
You didn't want to like
project manager.
be an optometrist or optometrist assistant or something like that.
Right. That'd be ironic. I umped baseball as a kid. I would ump baseball games for a couple summers. It was
Same thing.
Great job. But I was so insecure about wearing my glasses to umpire because I was convinced that if I wore my glasses, I'm going to get the, hey, get your prescription checked bit. That was a mortal fear of mine. I
wow.
want to make it clear I was a freshman and sophomore in high school. Very reasonable time to have mortal insecurities,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mortal meaning
I
like
would-
on the verge of
Yeah,
dying.
it was terrifying. I had a pair of prescription sunglasses. That was my ace in the hole. But I would wear them, and occasionally the games would go longer, and it would be really dark out there because I'm not very well lit. But I couldn't take them off because I couldn't see without them, and I was just way too scared.
Dude, the things you'll do to avoid any type of perceived like judgment.
Weakness, criticism.
Yeah, in high school when like you think everyone notices everything.
And they don't. It's the
don't
same
at all.
with grown men and their hairlines. They're like, oh, I want to sweep this forward and like
Yeah.
they want to do like an emo cut to try to cover up like a little bit of natural male recession. It's like, dude, you're 35. That's how 35-year-olds
Yeah,
look.
dude, just own it like Bruce Willis.
Nobody's going to see this.
No, you just look like a
when
dude.
people see you, they go, hey, look at that guy.
That's a guy.
And they'll be like, how old do you think he is? Man, probably like mid-30s.
Yeah.
And
He's a
that's
dude.
it, baby.
That's a guy.
Yeah, nobody's like, oh, you mean the bald guy?
You mean the guy that has
Especially
the weird
when
horseshoe shaped
Yeah.
hairline there?
do with the widow's peak.
Yeah.
They do with the Eddie
Now, to
Munster.
be fair, some people do have pretty wild hairlines.
Sure.
And then you look at that guy and you're like, that guy's a hairline guy.
I don't do that.
You don't when you look at a guy?
No,
Probably looks like more hair than us.
Yeah, but you look at the hair. Don't you like notice like
not really.
you don't notice the shapes?
I don't notice stuff that's not their fault.
No, I know, but like if you're a doctor, someone like
'Cause
if you're a normal
what I'm
person-
saying is I noticed the haircut, but that's all about what someone did to them,
Ah.
not about what Father Time's doing to them.
So they have no control over that.
And so it's like it's irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
Whereas
it
like
is
if I'm
kinda
gonna notice
funny when
something, I'll notice like a jacked up hairline that was cut that way,
Okay.
and I'll be like, oh, what happened there?
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Yeah, somebody was drinking at lunch.
Yeah.
You got any recent barber stories, Juke?
No, but when I first got out of the Marine Corps, I needed some extra cash. I was working this, what's it called, warehouse job before I went to barber school. And I really needed the cash. And a buddy of mine was like, you want to umpire at the baseball fields here in Grapevine? And I was like, what? I don't know anything about. He's like, it's easy, dude. We're going to do like a test and everybody cheats. And I was like,
Dude, it's like getting into real
that's
estate.
exactly the lowbrow thing I was looking for. Like,
Yeah.
how much is it? And he was like $16 a game, but they only take like 45 minutes. So it's not even like 16
Yeah,
bucks.
it's pretty good money.
Pretty good money. And this was like in 2012.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm in.
That's actually when I was umpiring. That was
Yeah,
what
Dude,
Dude,
you
was
guys
that?
might have
$2,000
gone to the same umpire basic training.
I was South Lake.
Okay.
Not Grapevine, but I did a few games out there.
I'll tell you, I don't know anything about baseball.
Did you work for
You
George
still
Lannon?
don't? You still don't know anything about
Ser-
baseball?
ser-
Even though you went through the training?
Serious
Oh,
question.
they all cheated.
Did you work for George Lannon?
I don't remember his name.
I didn't have a single test. George asked me if I knew baseball. I told him this is embarrassing. I'm so much of a baseball nerd. At that point in time, I owned not one but 2 copies of the Major League Baseball rule book I had gotten for my birthdays on 2 consecutive years.
Dude, that is exactly umpire material.
Yeah, I was the opposite of that.
Okay.
I was literally a guy that just needed the cash and hoped I could fake it.
Yeah.
And it was men's league softball.
that's way
Okay, so
hard.
what's your answer? The guy's like, so is it Juke? So you're here for the umpire to be an umpire. What's your experience with baseball?
Oh, I've never done this before, but you know,
So, but you're like a fan of baseball.
I think it's pretty cool.
Okay, so you like know some of the basic like the rules and stuff.
I
mean,
read the book you guys handed out yesterday
okay.
at the.
the whole thing yesterday.
I passed the test.
And then this guy's
You're
like,
not
I
cut out
have
to be an umpire
two
manager."
playbooks.
They were literally
two rule books.
so hurting that it's actually more of like a nepotism thing. It's like a who you know. Because if you understand the game, I'm pretty sure it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
But
Especially what age
I was
level
not
again?
competent.
What age level were you?
This was
umping?
men's.
yeah, I
men's.
could not have done men's.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was
Men's.
15 and looked
Dude,
like
but
I
that's
was.
higher. I mean, in
9.
some ways, that's higher
So many
stakes.
people wanted to fight me.
Yeah, that's way higher stakes.
I was gonna say I got yelled at all the time. A lot of parents yelled at me. You know, South Lake's a lot of kind of helicopter deals. But what are you gonna do?
And one time, I was out there and I was having a particularly difficult time. And this dude goes, "Come on, man," and he like was just so he had so much contempt for me.
Yeah.
And I thought, dude, I'm just trying to do my freaking job.
Just trying to get paid here.
And then literally I thought, let me put myself in this guy's shoes for a second. If someone said to me, if some punk 22-year-old said, "I'm just trying to do my job," I'd have been like, nobody told you to have this job.
Get a different job.
Like, go do another job, one you're better at.
So these were grown men.
And so I quit. I quit that day.
that day,
He got you,
he got you. He
I
got,
got me. It was a conversation with myself.
yeah,
but he started the conversation.
got you
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
I
You're
did.
right. You're right. That guy got me.
So these were grown adults playing baseball in their spare time in a league.
Well,
Yeah.
softball. I mean, I played a softball league last year.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not uncommon.
I mean, but I just feel like you can't take it that serious. Like, come
Well,
on.
they
like, you can't-
do.
Oh, the men's leagues, the casual leagues are co-ed, but if it's an all guys league, they always start co-ed, and then you get frustrated with the women, and you say, "Screw this, we're making a dream team," and you join a league. That's all what happens. No,
Yeah.
because I would walk around the complex. It was incredible. This
Oh,
was
you're
a little-
saying a bunch of friends
Would
will
start
play co-ed casual league, but then at some point go, "We're building a dream team."
Right?
It
No,
evolves.
co-ed is a
Imagine-
gateway drug.
Imagine the T-shirts will win.
Absolutely.
Because they just get frustrated. They're like, man, if Tiffany wasn't on the freaking
Dude,
team.
hey,
We could beat
what's
Kyle's
Bertha
team
out
if-
there doing?
Yeah, we
Somebody
could
throw
beat-
her a slab of meat.
Yeah, freaking Kyle and Juke.
everybody beat my team.
Yeah, I'd be like, man, Kyle and Juke out there. Like, if we got rid of Tiffany, if we got rid of Brittany and Allie, like, we could probably put together a good team. Like, let's see Kyle and Juke put together a real team against real softball
I
players.
played at those fields here in Grapevine
Mm-hmm.
with a church league, like a team that there was a couple people at my church at the Lonesome Dove when we first started going there that had organized this team, but they were always shorthanded. And so they would like after Sunday, I'm pretty sure they played on Sundays if I'm not mistaken, just like after church. And so literally it would be like at church, the guy would be like begging folks
to go play.
just come play. Like, hey, I need like 2 more people. Like,
Dang,
can
man.
I count on you? And I had gotten in a skateboarding accident, and I had sprained my elbow and like all the tendons from my thumb to my wrist and my left hand, and I couldn't turn my hand over like this for like
Okay.
3 months.
That's crucial.
And so I have this like wrist brace on, and at night I'm like wearing this like sling to like hold it up. And anyway, it was bad. I didn't have health insurance. I was just like riding it out. Maybe I have a strong arm after this. So anyway, straight up, I was like, "Hey, buddy, I can't use my left hand." He's like, "Just bunt, strike out. I
Yeah.
just don't want to get disqualified."
That's fair.
Just
And
be on the
so my wife's left-handed, so her glove will fit on my right hand, right? So I was
Catch the
like,
ball.
okay. And me and my wife went out there, and they pushed me in like right field, I think it is. I don't even know if it's stage right field. I don't even.
You would go if you typically speaking, if you're not
facing?
good, you would go right field. Because if I'm hitting the
was
ball,
an
I'm
umpire.
standing like this, and if you hit it hard, you hit it to the left. Typically, so they
Right.
would put you in right. 'Cause
and there was a
that's
couple
softer
guys
if you're
that
ready.
could get it out there.
Right, good players.
But
can
I'm
hit to all
right-handed.
fields.
So I would catch it and throw the glove into the ground with
And
the
then pick
ball
up
in
the
it,
ball.
and then grab the ball and crow hop, and I could get it to home if I needed to. But like, they would like constantly try to, if they were good. they
Yeah,
would
you see
beat
that
me with it.
one time. If I saw a dude drop his glove to throw a ball, I think I'm
Yeah.
doing everything in my power to hit it to that guy.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I got a story that's gonna sound off topic, but then I'm gonna loop it back. Just watch.
I'm ready.
When you guys were a kid, I would play a lot of basketball in my front yard, right? And play a lot of sports. And I always sort of had this imaginary fantasy that I think is very common among adolescents that I'm going to be like training in the front yard and like
A girl.
scout
Oh.
for a team is going to drive
I thought you
by.
meant a girl.
Oh, Edmund, I was
go to a girl.
much
I would
more
always go-
motivated by the
I was like
pros.
playing ball, and I was always like, man, a
Some girl's
girl's gonna come by and be like, man, the way that guy just throws the
Okay,
ball.
that's still pretty similar.
But a scout, okay.
That was always a thought in my mind. Like, I'm going to prove myself.
Edmund was trying to get scouted for
to-
something else.
Yeah, I was
scout.
just trying to get scouted
I
for
thought the
marriage.
long con, it's
Okay,
like,
okay.
who's, professional
First, I'm going to
athlete.
find a scout, impress him. Then I'm going to get a huge deal, and then
And then the
And then it's
girl.
easy.
then the girl.
Then
It's
the
easy.
girls come.
That was
See,
ki-
I wasn't smart enough to think that many steps ahead.
He was
Oh,
just
no,
like,
I
maybe
was-
she'll like
I was
my
like, maybe a
tries.
girl come by and see my layup here that I'm working
or
on.
these milky white
Dude,
thighs.
you know what they
Yeah,
say?
it'd be
They
like,
say rap
dude.
or go to the league, and I knew I couldn't rap, so I was going to the league.
All right, okay, fair enough.
And that was just common fantasy in my mind. But I actually had the opportunity to actually sort of live that out. What do I mean? So when I umpired, there's a guy named John Daniels. His son was one of the teams in the league. And I don't know if y'all know who John Daniels is. At the time, he was the general manager of the Texas Rangers. And I had gotten it in my head that if I showed enough knowledge of baseball, John Daniels, the general manager of the Texas Rangers, the man in charge of $200 million of payroll,
Oh,
would
the
be
Texas who?
the Texas Rangers.
Okay, continue.
I had this idea that he would come up to me like, hey, I saw something in you.
I saw something in your knowledge, something in that
Gi-
play.
And he would give me his business card at the age of 14, umpiring his son's coach pitch game.
Yeah, yeah.
It never happened.
Of course not.
And it was one of those things where I would think
I mean, oh.
I know, right? Pretty shocking. But I was thinking once, man, do I go talk to him? And because once after I umped 3 or 4 games for his son, I umped all of his son's games. Whenever I saw him on the schedule, I did them. I had to. It was my big break. And I thought I should just go talk to him. That's not going to happen. That was a ridiculous fantasy. But it's what do you tell that guy? So my question is, have y'all ever met a celebrity and thought, what do I tell that guy? And have you ever actually had a positive interaction? Because I met Kevin James once, and I told him I saw Mall Cop in theaters. It's Paul Blart. One of the
he's like-
stupidest things I've ever
He's
done.
like, great.
So
I-
Mike Birbiglia has a piece of advice for that moment.
Yeah.
And it's talk to him about anything regular.
I think that's the
like,
right deal.
You'll enjoy that more later. Like him and his wife met Barack Obama, and so they had talked about what are they going to say, and his wife happened to be pregnant. So they were like, "Hey, we're so happy to meet you. She's pregnant," and he was like, Barack Obama was like, "Congratulations!" And he goes, "Do you have any advice?" And he was like, "Get a lot of sleep."
I knew
just
the
gave
Barack
them,
voice was coming.
Gave them just some heartfelt. It was 2 lines, but it was get a lot of sleep and let me be clear.
Classic.
Dude,
Yeah.
how do umpires get scouted?
Oh no, you.
But how do you progress to that? Do you first?
Nepotism.
No, I know, but to be a coach, maybe you play, and then those who can't play coach.
Similar to the Skull and Bones.
for referees and coaches.
It,
to
I
become a
think it's an
professional referee.
Illuminati sort of situation.
But do they look at your history and go, man,
no,
in
they
middle
groom
school?
You. They groom you.
Oh, they do.
I was gonna say there are several. I looked into it at one point pretty heavily because I
How
thought
far off am I?
maybe there's something I could do. Right? I thought I knew at that point I was not making it to Major League Baseball off of playing ability. I knew
Yeah.
that. And I thought, man, I don't mind umpiring. That could be kind of cool.
You be out there, you get good seats.
Yeah, it'd be a blast.
view.
And so the way it works is you start off. It's very similar to Major League Baseball. You start off in the minor leagues,
Umpiring.
right? And you
And
can
you
go to a
get
couple
called up.
umpire academies, and you very
There are
really
umpire
get
academies?
called up. Yeah, you get some sort of certification, and then that makes it pretty easy for you to get a low level job where you get paid nothing.
But how are they? I wonder how they're measuring your success as an ump.
See,
Because you're ump in the minors, and they're like, dude, that guy's because his
Yeah.
call is the call. How do you, unless you have tape that you watch and go, oh man, that ump actually made a bad call. How would you measure?
so that's a phenomenal question because it sort of gets in this
Thank you, Kyle.
dichotomy of good umpires aren't really noticed. If you ever watch a sports game and you're talking about the
Wow.
referees a
It's
lot,
like those kids that run and grab those tennis balls.
yeah,
The
good ones. Aren't
ones.
noticed.
You
They're
don't
not
even
noticed.
see them.
So what happens
They're
is it's
not
kind of a
people.
trap. I read a lot about advice for young umpires and climbing the
Oh my
ranks.
gosh,
And what people were saying
You
was
should write an ebook.
it's a temptation. Well,
there's
I've
probably a
never
whole
done it.
YouTube genre devoted to become making it as an ump. There's probably a $2,000 5-step course.
Yeah.
Well, there's ump academy.
Well, yeah, that's essentially what it is. And they say is the temptation to fall into is to be the flashy ump. If you ever watched a baseball game, there's a lot of ways to call strike 3. You can say, hey, strike 3. You can really pump your arms. And it's
give us a low strike 3, and then give us an
okay.
over the top.
All right,
Give us a
I'm gonna have
quiet
to drop the
strike
mic.
three.
I'm gonna drop
All
the
right.
mic.
So wait. So I'll pitch to Juke, and then Or no, Juke pitches to me. I swing.
Okay,
and
here
then
we
you
go.
call
Here
it.
it comes.
Okay,
You
Juke,
ready?
pitch it.
I'm not left-handed, but
Okay.
Ugh.
Ah.
Strike 3.
Okay. All right. And then now give us the over the top strike. Like over
here
the
comes
top.
here comes down the middle.
Ah.
And
you
there's
just
a couple
make
things with that. It's the hard
You can hold your mic now.
sounds, but it's also you see how I swiveled my arms?
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
that all the time.
Okay.
For low level games, whenever I got bored, I would just go
But
insane.
there is a little like
That's actually, I respect you for that, sir.
but you do
Well,
want
what are
a
you gonna do
little.
with these
You do
games?
want a little bit of flair though, because you want people to notice.
Right.
You.
I worked at Whataburger, and when we got bored on the night shift, we play some games.
Yeah.
Right. It's so you want enough flair, but it's a trap people fall into where they focus so much time on this flair and unique style
Yeah.
that they're just crappy umpires.
You think umpires get together and they talk about
'Cause
their
it's about them. And you want to know what umpires are for? They're for everybody else.
the servant heart,
Servant heart.
servant
baby.
leadership? So do you think umps get together and kind of like dish a little bit on how they're like, man, Kyle, you were out there really, Kyle's out here really flaring his arm on that.
Oh, I guarantee, because these guys have a camaraderie. They have a bond. Like
Well, but did you experience that?
last year in the
You
bu-
were in the league.
Yeah, you were in it.
I'm pretty well. Last year in the NBA bubble, I don't know if y'all remember,
answering our
the
questions.
NBA finished their season out in the bubble. And it was very funny because while they're in the bubble, there was this sort of massive social justice movement across America.
Yes.
And all the players were doing things. They were skipping games. And like the referees got together and did like a walk of solidarity around Disneyland. And it was
The
like,
referees did.
the NBA referees did that, yeah.
Okay.
And it was something at first I was like, okay, like I'm glad, I guess. But I was like, man, like these guys have a whole camaraderie and they are very involved in like the games that I love. I have no idea what they're like.
Yeah.
So judging off of that, I know those guys had to meet together and plan. Like we as the referees need to do
it's a
something.
union.
Like you imagine that.
I don't know that.
You
that's true.
imagine that.
No, there is a union. There's
Oh,
Major League
sure.
Baseball is the strongest union in America. They literally won an antitrust case in the Supreme Court.
Wait, Major League Baseball or like the referees?
The Major League
union?
Baseball Players Union is, in my opinion, the strongest in America.
What are the referees in the players union?
No, they have a separate union.
Second
Oh,
to, only to the Teamsters.
I'm
So
telling you, they're real. Marvin Miller brought salaries from an average of like $40K to $200,000
man.
over a 10-year tenure.
This is Miller
boring.
versus the MLB.
hey, Kyle, I did ask a question though, and the question was, have you ever had an experience, Edmund, with a celebrity that was positive?
great question.
I can't remember. I can't remember any like big time A-list celebrities, but all of the people that in my life I consider like I looked up to as like a hero or a
Yeah.
celebrity, I get so much in my head that I ruin it.
You ruined it.
100%.
How many relationships or opportunities like that have you ruined due to insecurity?
More than 5, for sure. Probably more than 10.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that's why I don't cut Leon Bridges' hair anymore.
You think you were self-sabotaging a little bit?
Oh, hard.
Oh, you think he is like, this guy's being a little weird?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he was so nice to me, we hung out. Like we went out drinking a couple times, and I mean, like I was in an inner circle, but I felt this pressure to like somehow
Be cool.
impress him.
Yeah.
What would you
And
do?
I tried I won't even tell you.
You just be like, where do you get all your good ideas
I
from?
won't even tell you.
You just like ask.
I won't
questions.
even embarrass myself.
You ever go on
By
a podcast
reliving
and
it.
think I'm going to be guarded? I don't think it's a good
Guarded?
way. No, Juke's being very guarded right now. This is a
Oh,
safe
with this
space.
one, close to the vest, baby. But I'm telling
for
you,
the After Dark.
I'm telling you the tale. Okay, so I'll say that I learned so much from that experience with Leon Bridges because he was so kind and so gracious that I took a lot of responsibility when I felt like, oh, this is over, right?
So, but you learn so much about what? About how to handle.
About like, yeah, being like not media trained, right? Because that's what celebrities are. Celebrities are media trained, but like the help ought to be like kind of celebrity trained.
I think
The
it's a
help?
great
What do you
take.
mean the help?
Like I'm a servant. I'm a hair cutter.
He's an employee.
Got you.
I never
okay.
considered that. Like, if let's say I became famous, all of the people I interact with, that I do business with, the restaurants I go to, I never thought that they would have pressure. I mean, I've never
Right.
been famous. That's a very interesting perspective to me. Like, if I became famous, so famous, it would be
Oh, people treat
weird.
you weird. It's a little bit objectifying, and it's a little bit like people. Okay, so there's a lizard brain deal where people kind of are attracted to successful folks in general. So even if you're not well known and famous, when people start to find out that like you do really well or you're really good at something. So I've experienced this very nichely within like the barber community here in DFW is like I've had a couple of guys basically do to me what I may or may not have done to Leon Bridges.
Gotcha.
Which was like, I just want to be inside of you. Like,
Yeah, so
I want you to absorb me and to make me part of your whole business.
So I am in no way near that, but I did have one experience for the first time where a longtime listener, like I hung out with this person, and forever I just like anyone that reached out, I would just talk to and just like it was never an issue, or it was never like
for the first time you thought I might have to come up with a MO.
It wasn't that. It was just like it was the first time that it was very clear in the situation that we were not equal. Like he was not treating me as equal. It was a lot of what now, and I saw him doing to me what I've done to other people.
So I'm gonna tell you right now,
Which is what?
you have to get good at that.
What?
If you're going to continue to be
I'm sure he had a great
successful,
experience. It was just
sure,
internal.
but I just mean like
You need to be able to
you
process.
need to be
No, for sure.
comfortable in that space.
For sure.
And that's hard, isn't it?
No, it was. Well, like, I think I did a good job. It's just I was realizing that he was doing, like, I was like, oh, this is why those other people
So this
felt
idea-
freaked out because he's doing what I did, which is like,
And now I get it.
and it's just like staring. Like just staring, waiting for me to do something. Like, just like,
Yeah.
huh? And it's just like, because they're so used to seeing you on something and just consuming it, and they know you so well.
But they don't.
But they don't. But then in the moment, you're having this experience with someone who, anytime you bring something up, they're like, "Oh yeah, like your second daughter's third birthdays, whatever," and you're like, "Yeah," like it's hard to give to someone who already,
Yeah.
and then they're just like
That's
staring.
interesting.
It's frightening.
And I did that to. I won't even say the names, but I did that to a few people who I really
guarded.
respected. Well, they'll probably listen to this, but I really respected, and I
Also
realized,
flex the people he really respects that he starts talking. Oh, they're listening to my podcast. so.
yeah, but they might. I don't know. But I did that thing where I knew so much about them, and then was realizing they didn't know anything about me, and I'm like just looking at them like, so
anyway,
what else are you gonna do right now? Are you gonna say
like,
something?
I could like be you.
Yeah. It was just like, huh?
So because of that experience, I learned a bunch, and I felt like it helped me when I had like some younger guys that wanted to cut hair that felt like I was on the Mount Rushmore
Yeah.
of Dallas barbers, and were just like, I want to be a part of your whole deal. and and I feel like, but back to like having interactions with celebrities. So that happened. I went to LA in 2019. And we were there for a week for a hair class. We were like really stepping our game up, and we went to this Vidal Sassoon Academy, and it was like a week-long course. And me and two other barbers that I was working with at the time, and we were just so stoked to be there, and so like, just man, it was electric. But because we're also in LA and the class is only till like 2 or 3 p.m., we spent every night at the Comedy Store or at Laugh Factory. And I saw everybody.
Yeah.
And this was in 2019, like in August of 2019.
Yeah.
So like those places don't even exist anymore
Yeah.
the way that they did.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
popping.
And like
Comedy Store in particular, I didn't know anything about it until a few months ago. I read a long article.
Oh wow.
Seems incredible, just this idea of these guys really honing their craft in an authentic way.
It was crazy. It was
Sure.
popping off before.
And everyone's
COVID.
just standing around.
Yeah.
And like I'm touching, what's his name? Not Crystalia, not Will Sasso, Brian Callen. I'm like patting Brian Callen on the shoulder as he's coming out of the bathroom, and I'm going into it. I'm like, nice set, and he's like, thanks. But like that's how it
felt too. Like it's not the largest space, so it feels like really everyone's just kind of bumping elbows and stuff.
Sure. And there's a private bar actually that only those guys can go to so that they can get away.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is kind of tucked away in it, but so you don't have access to that. But I mean, like them pulling in and out in their vehicles, them like standing around talking to each other.
Yeah.
So like saw Crystalia have this super authentic interaction with a fan that had somehow stolen a couple minutes of his time.
Wait, what?
Like this guy was persistent enough to where Crystalia was like, I'm gonna address you, but also like, I don't do this. Like I need to go.
Yeah.
Christie Elliott being anything less than totally nice, and I'm shocked.
He actually was. he basically drew a line for the guy and said, "Hey, listen, what you're doing is inappropriate, and I'm gonna bounce."
It's really good. I always thought he was just a jerk.
He gave the guy some. It was like the Barack Obama moment where he's like, "But I'm gonna give you a little bit of advice because you're clearly kind of hurting."
Yeah.
And the guy was just so desperate to have some kind of interaction with him that he goes, "How old are you?" And I watched him go, "How old are you?" And the guy was like, 27. And he's like, "Dude, you're fine. Relax. That's what your 20s are for." And I had no idea. I had no idea what had happened before that moment.
Yeah.
But I could tell so much about what was kind of the tension and going on between them.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I thought, oh, he's throwing him a bone.
Yeah.
He's throwing him a bone going, "Hey, your money, baby.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
Stop being so insecure. Get out there and be somebody."
Yeah.
And I thought that was probably really impactful to that guy.
Yeah.
Like, that was legit. The next night I was at the Laugh Factory and I watched Christie perform, and Brendan Schaub was there. And afterwards, I watched him and Brendan Schaub kind of start to walk out. And I told my buddy Ryan, who I was with that night, I was like, I gotta at least shake their hands. Like, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
And so I snuck out and met them in the lobby. And I said, "Hey, man, huge fan. I just wanted to say hello. I won't bother you."
Yeah.
And I stuck my hand out, and Christie goes, "Actually, I got to do this, otherwise I get the flu." Again, August of 2019, way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, totally. Hey, man, I love your stuff. Thank you so much." And that was it. I didn't even look at Brendan Schaub because I'm not a huge fan, and
You're not a subscriber?
I was just so interested in Christie. No offense, Brendan Schaub, if you're listening. So
They definitely fall.
what's funny though is, are you familiar with Fighter and the Kid, the podcast?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
So one time I have a friend in Dallas that goes, "Oh my gosh, do you know about Fighter and the Kid?" And I was like, "I know of it. I like those guys. You know, it's a good dynamic. Hey, you have to watch this episode. Actually, you have to fast forward it to this timestamp." And I was like, "Okay." So I fast forward it, and Brendan Schaub's like, "Yeah, so I was performing at the Improv in Addison, in Dallas, Texas. And anyway, we went to this barbecue place. The line is like wrapped around the building. It's called something like Pecan Lodge or something like that. Something like that."
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're at this place, and there's like a barbershop right across the street. Pause. So he's talking about a barbershop that I managed, but that I'm, at the moment that I'm listening to this podcast, and it's like current, I have left. It was ugly, and I started my own thing downtown. Right, with a buddy.
Yeah.
So he's talking about this place that, first of all, I have resentment for.
Yeah.
And he goes, and there's this barbershop across the street. And so I duck in there real quick, and somebody, like, they effed me up.
Oh.
Like, effed up my haircut. And then he keeps reiterating, right? And I was just like, and so I, like, I get the timestamp and I sent it to one of my friends who still worked there. And I was like, "Ooh, swing and a miss." And literally, it like becomes such a big deal that they figure out who cut his hair and they fired them, which I did not know that was going to happen. I actually I never met the person. I still don't know who it is, but I feel terrible that that's the chain of events.
And you weren't thinking about that. He was like, "Oh, look at this."
I was just twisting my buddy's nipple.
It's like comedians whining about things. That's very doable. That's not a huge.
All press is good press.
Yeah.
So literally, he doesn't even name the barbershop. He just said it was right across the street from Pecan Lodge. Yeah. And neither will I. So, long story short, though, Brendan Schaub is there, and he was actually standing on his phone outside the Laugh Factory, and I'd gotten my handshake or fist bump with Christie, and so I'm standing outside the Laugh Factory, and then I thought about that. I thought about how that happened. I was like, I'd like to tell Brendan Schaub that happened, and that I am connected to that barber shop, and then that person got fired. And
that's what you think. You think this will be a fun story to tell him,
right? And so I walk up to him, and I go, "Hey, man, do you want to hear like a cool fan story?" And he goes, "No." I gotta go. And then ran across Sunset Boulevard, like, and he's an athlete. He sprinted.
Dang, man.
Yeah, the way that is appropriate when the
and then you're just
road
left there,
is 4 lanes.
You're left there with one light on you, dark around you, just like, oh man, that's rough.
Yeah.
Did you respect him saying that, or did you not respect him saying that?
Of course. And we had just seen so many people over the course of the week and gotten to say hello to a couple and whatever. It was such a magical time. And when that happened, I really thought like, oh, I broke the rules. like this is kind of special that like anybody could come do this.
Yeah.
Anybody could come have this experience I had.
Yeah.
I didn't even spend any money on it.
Yeah.
Like it's not expensive to go to
you
the
mean you
Laugh
broke the
Factory
rule?
on Tuesday.
You broke the rules in like approaching him?
I think so.
Mm.
I think I broke the rules by leaving my seat and trying to shake Christie's hand.
I was gonna say,
Gotcha.
I would think that the other thing, if I was a comedian, the Schaub thing, if Schaub had taken a second to listen, probably would have at least been interested in. I don't know if he would have
Don't
thought it was
touch the camera.
funny,
Don't touch the camera.
but I think that
Sorry, Kyle.
the D'Elia thing, yeah, I was talking pretty loud to try to smooth over.
Yeah, don't talk so loud.
All right. I also made a
Don't touch the
great
camera.
Chris
No, you're fine,
D'Elia
you're fine,
joke that no one caught. It was very funny.
You can't say his last name. How do you say his last name?
I don't know.
I think it's Delia.
Yeah.
Are you saying D'Elia?
D'Elia. Well, I made a. I'll explain it later. But what I'm getting
What's
at
wrong,
is,
Kateri?
I think that it's like the Schaub thing. I think that's a real thing to tell someone. Like I think Schaub probably assumed it was going to be something dumb. Like, let me tell you a fan story about you did or whatever.
Yeah, and probably 99% of the time it's something weird.
It's
like
almost always something.
my wife would totally like to,
But also, it's an experience. But to you,
You're on
It's-
my wife's celebrity list, and I'm okay with it. Like how many
But to
times?
you-
That's objectifying.
Yeah,
But
but-
people say things like that.
but to
you,
you,
when you're famous.
to you, it's an extremely memorable moment. Like this guy that you just watch on TV mentioned this thing that you happen to be there. To him, it was like it was a Tuesday.
Yeah, he just got a bad haircut.
To him, like you're gonna be like, "Hey, dude, this one place I was at, I know the people that were there," and then he's like, "Cool."
And they got fired.
Yeah, and it's like, "Cool."
And he's gonna be like, "Oh, geez."
It's just like,
well,
all right,
Is that it? That's the story, huh?
what's wrong? What? Okay, watch the next one,
I give you my full and explicit permission.
guys. My daughter's here. We're doing 2 weeks
so
alone. It's just me and her for 2 weeks.
She has the sweetest voice.
My wife is in Colorado on a horse. She hasn't texted me. Listen, here's the thing. My wife, when I'm away, if I don't text her at least once a day, she is apoplectic.
So
Like, she
why don't
freaks
you?
out.
So what you do is, dude, is you make a playlist
Mm.
and you tell her every day. You send her the next song.
No,
You
no,
go,
but here's the thing.
"You listen to
I've been
this song
texting
today."
her, and she has not been responding to me.
You guys have read
man.
receipts
A
on?
little bit of double
Is
standard.
Brendan Schaub on this vacation as well?
I hope not. I hope to God not. No, but I think it's she has
Apparently, he's
bad-
an athlete. I didn't know
I
that.
think she has bad service.
Well, he was a UFC fighter.
Don't follow comedy that closely.
yeah.
Good. It keeps you original.
What?
She
Louder.
wants to watch the next.
You
movie.
can watch the next one.
Say it louder. Louder. Okay. All right, you guys are gonna have to fill time while I go put on the next one.
Yeah. Whatever will we do?
So, no, yeah, the whole concept of comedy I've always thought is just so interesting to me because it's like you look at these guys
Totally.
who are able to tell this story with no props. Right, you know, if you look at like a theater, there's a play, there's stage design, there's multiple actors.
Oh, sure.
Makes sense. You look at musicians, right? There's instruments, there's this. That those guys can entertain and captivate an audience at the same level of a musician or an actor or anything, with just their words and an amplified voice.
Right. But to a degree, it isn't to the same degree. Like
I
I've
suppose it
been
doesn't
to
elevate.
I've
the
been to
way.
the Comedy Cellar in New York. I've been to the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory. I've seen comedy in theater, like a theater you would see a play in, like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Fair Park in Dallas. I've been to the Improv in Addison, and I'll say it's like music, but on a jam band level.
Okay.
Like almost the biggest, the more grungy and hole in the wallish it comes across, the more your knees are crammed together and the ceiling, like the room needs to look like a fire hazard, and then
Yeah, beer's
there's
on tap.
magic.
Get out of there.
yeah, yes, it's not going to be a warm, inviting place. It's going to be this weird thing that they're just sardining everybody in, and then, oh, cool, we can smell this guy's breath, and he's going to tell us jokes like that might be some of the psychology. Is at the end of the day, you start to feel like you paid to be a fly on the wall in the kitchen of a cool house party.
Mm.
And I think that's what sort of drives me away from comedy. Like Chris D'Elia, for example, like one of my best
D'Elia.
friends in the world,
Yeah,
D'Elia,
that's
whatever you want to call him. He was like, yo, you got to check this guy out. He's hilarious. Like, he's the best, whatever, new gen. You know, and I listen to him. I'm like,
This guy's a
an
jerk.
a-hole. And
Wait,
he
you listen
thinks,
to his stand-up?
Yeah, this is the stand-up in one of the podcasts. I gave him 2 shots. And I was like, this guy's an a-hole
Hey.
who thinks he's like this incredible gift to women. And I find out that he has to talk to underage girls. And I'm like, dude, you're a scrub. Like, and it broke
Yeah,
this
but it's
huge.
all- but it's all-
he didn't do that.
Yeah, and it's all a character.
He didn't do. I do not pretend to be very like invested in comedy. I was under the impression he was #canceled for talking to 17.
Yeah, but you know what though? You know
Sure,
what's-
but no, they talked to him and he
Maybe he just
responded to everything that anyone who ever, so he was pretty candid about it.
Oh, really?
Anyone that ever made a pass at him or was in the DMs when he was in a city, he would reply to all of them.
No, that I mean,
And then
that's fundamentally
there was
different,
several
yeah.
times where he found out that this person was underage after they'd been flirting via text, basically. And then he was like, oh, and then shut it down.
Yeah.
So, like, was there incriminating stuff? Yeah. But, like, the number of times anything happened is 0. And,
Oh, really?
and the number of times anything progressed past him finding out how old they were is 0. And there were several women that, because he's been doing it for enough years now, aged out of being a minor and then hit him up like, hey, I'm 21 now. What's up?
Yeah.
And he was like, gross.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a serial predator.
Oh, that's good.
This is a guy. This is a guy who, like, but you are onto something by saying he was a total egomaniac who.
Yeah, but some of that's a bit though. Like if you're on a
I was saying,
podcast,
is it a bit?
it's a
I don't
bit.
know.
I think it's a bit. Like he's playing the role of that person, but like I've had
Like, no one likes that guy. Like,
I think
do
he
you mean?
objectified himself.
what on the podcast. No one likes.
I'm
that
just
guy?
saying in general, no one likes that guy in real life. He's playing this role of like.
Oh, that's not
Oh
true,
yeah, but
buddy.
he's just trying to make his
Oh, that's not
friends
true.
laugh.
Who
No, but
likes
You don't
that
believe
guy?
that.
he's
I
just
don't
trying
like that guy.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he
but you're a
never-
guy. And therefore, there's part of your lizard brain that going, I have to compete with that guy?
Yeah, but I think he's just trying to make his friends laugh.
I just think that guy's playing a different game than me. Like I think that guy's
No,
so annoying. I've met that guy, and
But
obviously
but
I'm not
he-
an expert on the dude. Can't even pronounce the last
But
name.
he's not
right.
being. But he's not like coming on the show going like, I really get with him. It's like he's trying to make his friends laugh.
Right, so he's playing
Like,
a character I don't
yeah.
like. Like,
Yeah,
why would I
yeah,
watch? Like, why do I watch TV shows? I watch people I like, and
Sure,
I root for them.
Kyle's saying, I'm not going to root for the villain.
Yeah, but
why?
there's some funny.
I would never watch the Darth Vader show
So
where Darth
I
Vader
have a
talks
theory
about
that-
his
but
issues.
there's some
I have a-
funny.
ridiculous.
I have a theory.
But to listen to a guy talk about like how good he is with women, and then like Brennan or Brian, one of the early ones. I think what happened to a lot of people is they didn't know about him, and then they have these spontaneous moments on podcasts that seem really, really funny, and then you're a fan. And then you give him more room on some of the jokes that aren't that funny because you're like when you're a fan of somebody,
Yeah.
That's
you'll
fair.
give them
You always
so
give
much more
people a
leeway.
pass.
And so like there's
You're
a
like,
podcast,
but it's okay because you want to like him.
and there's one where like like Brian, I'll make it more PG-13, but Brian Callen's like basically leading him on like so what do you do when you're with a woman and this and that. And he's like, so tell us like when it's really when the moment's at its peak, like what do you say? And he's like, okay, here we go. I'm gonna do at the moment, and he's like right when
It's happening.
things happen.
Wake
he
me
goes-
up before you go.
No, he goes. Ooh, and he's like, "What's the girl's name? Do you remember this part? What's the
No.
girl's name?" And he's
I
like,
don't
"Okay,
even-
say her name's Penelope." He's like, "So I'm just being real suave, real cool." And then right at the pinnacle, I go, "Ooh, I'm Penelope. I'm so cool."
I don't get it.
Dude, it made me laugh so hard I cried.
I will give him
cried.
Okay,
It
there's
was
two
out of
reasons
nowhere.
why things are funny,
Dude,
Kyle.
all three of them
There's
laughed.
only
so-
two.
Dude,
What are the two?
I beg you to challenge me on this.
Oh, well, I'm
Or
asking.
for
I'm
anybody to
curious.
prove me wrong because I would love to grow in knowledge.
Oh, I'm curious. I
But
don't know.
I'm
what the
pretty
two
sure
reasons are.
there's two reasons why something's funny. One, because it's relatable, right?
Sure, it's true.
That's
I
why
agree with that. I was
comedians
gonna
talk
say
about their
true.
kids. They talk
Yeah.
about their breakups. They talk about their relationship problems. They talk about things that are relatable. And the other reason is when things are absurd.
I was gonna say
So,
truth and absurdity.
Some people will say, "Oh, it's so funny because it's so true," or "Oh, there's always some truth to humor." It's like,
Yeah.
well, that's actually not true.
Yeah, yeah.
Some things are funny because they're absurd.
Like it's so crazy to think that this guy thinks he's really good with women.
Yeah.
And like that's what he says.
Yeah.
In the moment. And like
What's her name? And
And-
he goes, "And what's her name?"
yeah.
And he's getting ready to just catch you off guard.
And I'm Penelope, I'm so cool. And then Brian and Brendan are crying, laughing, and they're all laughing so hard because it's so stupid.
Yeah.
And man, that was the moment where I was like, oh my God.
These guys are just friends.
But that's what really made me fall in love with podcasting was like that spontaneous, like, cause you can listen to 8 episodes and not have a moment like that. And all it takes is one moment and
Yeah.
you'll listen to 30 more episodes just waiting for
Yeah.
a moment like that to happen again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This was kind of special. Anyway, so I'm not saying he's
But
like.
no, what the point I'm getting at is, Delia, I will give him credit for some. However the hell you say his
Who
name.
is it?
He has some of the best delivery of lines I've ever heard. Some comedians, like my dad loved Stephen Wright. We listened to a ton of Stephen Wright growing up. I don't even know if that's his name. Stephen.
Is that the one that sings Butterfly Kisses?
Yeah.
I'm actually happy that you don't listen to a lot of comedy, because my biggest fear is that I will love somebody's style and then I'll emulate it.
Oh, dude, I do it on podcasting all the time. I do it in podcasts all the time. I'll do something. I'll be like, man, that was a Theo Vaughn thing, or that was a Christie thing.
When you're like, man,
like,
my
shoot.
hometown.
But you know what's funny?
That's Theo Vaughn, right? You're like,
Yeah,
man,
he's the
my
country
hometown.
guy, right?
Yeah, or
Yeah,
just say
from
something
Louisiana.
ridiculous in like a really subtle, like,
Yeah.
like he
Where you
said,
mispronounce a word.
yeah, he said like
the
ferrets.
king of that.
He said like, ferrets like the limousine of rats.
Or one time
That's
he
pretty
goes,
funny.
I was at the doctor and they told me I had like a body like a rare cat. They said I had like too many ribs or something.
But the point I'm getting
And then
at,
you're just like, what?
But I do. The other thing I noticed is that Crystalia, Brian Callen, and then Will Sasso, they have a lexicon.
10-min pod.
Well, they do this smutch, like they do this like short.
That was a deleted thing first.
No, but no, I think it was a Brian, and because they used to have that podcast, and all three of them would, because Brian will do
Sure,
it too.
but they would share.
But that made me wonder if that just becomes like in that it's not copying, because it just becomes a way you guys talk together. Like in your
Well, if
friend
you come
group,
up with
you
something
come up-
funny and we all agree that
saying
it's
it.
funny, it can become an inside joke.
Yeah, because it starts becoming
But then it's
this
ours.
inside way to
yeah, and then
yeah.
when you start using it outside of that, well, but then not only that, but like, okay, so there was this old show and it was similar to Jackass, but it was called like the Dudesons. You guys familiar? And I forget where they're from, like some Scandinavian country. But anyway, they're just like hurting themselves and doing weird stuff, and some people just love it. But for some reason, that term Dudeson just became what we were saying. Like we were just calling each other Dudeson. We were like, "What's up, Dudeson?" And then, or I used to call people a Dick Buckus. That's the name of a
Linebacker.
former NFL
the
player.
linebacker for the Bears,
Yeah,
revolutionized the
Or
position.
Stan.
he
I mean, this is
revolutionized.
all-
what did he
He
revolutionize?
revolutionized the middle linebacker position. He was
That's
the
right, he
first guy
did.
to
You're
really
dang right,
play
he did.
middle linebacker.
But sounds like a
Very funny
a
name.
slur.
Yeah.
Call someone a Dick Buckus. So
It's like Stan, when you say like I became a Stan. That's from the Eminem song Stan.
Stalker
I didn't
fan.
know I didn't know this until recently.
I've never even heard anybody. say
Someone
that.
commented on one of the YouTube channels.
Very famous song. Eminem off one of
I've heard the
really early
song.
ones.
I've never heard anybody call someone a stan.
Yeah, like
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
Kanye stan.
You become a Kanye Stan.
Oh,
Stalker fan.
wow.
So someone commented on my Instagram story that like oh, this is the moment I went from an Edmund fan to an Edmund Stan. I was like, oh shoot.
Well, like Stan doesn't mean like the right thing. Stan means kind of bad.
Yeah, it's kind of bad. Because
Yeah.
in the song, he like is
Depends.
insane.
Yeah, he
Oh yeah, he
kills himself with his
Yeah.
like
Drives
wife
off
and like
the-
pregnant wife. Yeah.
But are
Well,
you
who knows
about
if
it or you're not? I want riders.
I'm about that life. But hold on, this is what my point with Stephen Wright versus Chris D, however you want to say it, is I watched Stephen Wright and I thought, if you gave me a list of his jokes, I could tell them and be hilarious, right? I thought his jokes were written
Try one.
so well. I don't
Let's
know if his
try
jokes top of my head, but hold on. What I'm getting at is with Chris's jokes, a lot of his jokes, what made them incredible was his phenomenal delivery. He
Yeah.
was so freaking good at it.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, like, that's crazy that two people are succeeding in such different ways.
ways, yeah.
And it made me wonder, three of us here, we all think we're funnier than we are. Would you rather
Hey,
have
I'm with you.
incredible writing ability or incredible
Writing.
Delivery.
delivery?
I
Yeah.
choose delivery.
Writing. I would choose writing.
I choose delivery.
I deliver 100%.
I don't know what I would pick.
And here's why. Because
Someone else can
I
write
think
your
delivery
jokes.
is unlimited.
no.
But you need to be able to write the jokes.
No.
Like even if you have good delivery, you have to come up with the jokes.
So
I'm
people-
not.
everything is
I don't
funny
make
with-
money as a comedian,
I know, but if you had to pick,
and so delivery has more applications.
I think that's fair.
Like writing is a great skill, and in some ways, I'm envious of people who can write well in general, whether it's a tax form or a
no, I mean writing jokes.
Sure, but I
Joke
just
writing.
mean like if you can deliver, then you can turn any room around.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
down.
but you still need the content though. Like if you had great
a
delivery,
much
but
better
couldn't come
debate
up
than
with
I
good
thought it would be.
jokes.
How do you have great delivery then?
If you
Like
you
what I'm
happen
saying
to-
is if I say a subpar joke but my delivery is so good that I can get people laughing, I'll take that.
I did that once. I was in a charity debate thing in college, and I was doing some bit about, it was at the small Catholic college, and it was this debate about whether dating culture was the men's fault or the woman's fault. And I said, screw the women, I'm taking the men's side, whatever. And I was doing this ridiculous bit about a buddy of mine who his girlfriend had broken up with him after 11 days of dating because she thought they weren't destined for marriage. And I wanted to make fun of her, thought it was funny. And I said, 11 days. And the line I was supposed to say was something like, I've been putting off, like, I've watched like one season of TV or something. I don't remember what the line was, but the line I said was, I've eaten pizzas for longer than that. I just completely flubbed the words, but I delivered it so confidently. There's a video of it, and people just cracked up because the delivery was really, really good. It was one of the best delivered jokes of my life, even though it made 0 sense. So I see what you're saying. If your delivery is I really can't say the name level good, Christie good. Like, I watched this bit he did on
really
drunk women. It was incredible. Like,
Yeah.
it made me upset at how much I was laughing and how stupid it was. I was frustrated. I was like, how is he so good at this?
It's the delivery.
With nothing. And, like, that's insane to me. Like, writing, I can appreciate writing. When I see writing, I think, like, man, I can get like that.
So we're talking about this. I'm glad we're talking about this. So today in the shop, we were talking about confidence, right? And what I realize is that attractive people get more opportunities in life.
Yeah, people are friendlier to them. They're more confident.
No, you're
Science.
imagining pretty people.
Interesting. Break it
I'm
down.
saying attractive people is something much more dynamic than genetics and style and looks. Attractive people is things that what makes someone attractive is confidence, thoughtfulness, and diligence. This is my
more
own
long
definition.
term, less short. I was thinking short term. You're talking more longer. That makes sense.
Yeah. So literally, the more confident you can appear, and barring crossing the line into arrogance and cockiness, right? But like just you're saying your delivery was so, and I would say attractive, that people finished the joke in their head. They just completed the line. It was like 11 days. You were expressing, this is so absurd. It's as absurd as this other silly thing.
Yeah.
And everyone just went, it was probably funny. And they laughed because of how just on your confidence was. And I think it's so important for people to, it's a great tip of life is like, confidence is not a resource. It's not something you have. It's something you do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's a total learned behavior. And you could be faking it.
I found something interesting about myself. I quit my job like a month ago because I decided I hated it. And I've applied for all these jobs in the meantime. Most of them sucked, but I applied anyways. And I realized I'm way better at applying for sales jobs than non-sales jobs.
Yeah.
I was wondering, why is that? I was like, well, is it just because I'm good at sales? Is it because that's what I've been doing? And I realized that I adopt a different persona when I do a sales interview versus literally any other interview.
Yeah.
Every sales interview I've ever done, I haven't gotten the job every time, but typically I will. And it's because I'm so assertive in those interviews because I want to show them I can sell. And I'm ridiculously confident. I tell them I'm going to be #1 always. But if I apply for literally everything else, I'm like, yeah, I think I'd be pretty good at this. Like, I think I could like really help the team. Like, I think I'm a fit for the culture.
I didn't realize this, but you're totally right. I didn't realize this, but I don't make fun of people because I'm trying to prune them socially. Like, there's kind of like the psychological, like men will do that to each other. Like you were talking about earlier, like how many things would you do to avoid that criticism of like, oh, so you're wearing those shirts now, huh? And like, it's that easy. And you're like, I'm never wearing these shorts again. Like it's totally, that's what we do to each other. But like, I'm so messed up and my family has always just made fun of people for affection that like, I have gone to great lengths to mess with people's confidence.
Yeah.
Because of how much I admire them. Like, like it's gross because I have jokes for people without tattoos and I have jokes for people with tattoos. Like, I don't care if you have
Is
them
this
or
what
not.
messed up the Leon Bridges situation?
No.
Did
He didn't
make
have
fun
any tattoos.
No, I know, but did you make fun of him because you had so much respect for him?
Oh, geez, wouldn't
Is that what you?
No, I'd tell that story.
Okay.
It would probably be heroic. like for joke's sake. Like it would probably be
Dude,
like, oh, it's this ultimate bit.
Dude, I'll be honest. It's taken me until I was an adult to get to the level of like comfort and confidence to allow
People to make fun of you?
Yeah, like I just never really, I didn't have that level of, or I just did not grow up in a very masculine, like, let's rag on each other. I didn't understand, to be honest, to bring this all the way back, I think a lot of it was until I heard people on a podcast that were ripping on each other, but I knew them well enough to know that they didn't mean it. Whereas like a lot of high schools, when I moved around, and suddenly I'm in a new social circle,
Right.
and someone rips on someone, I'm like, oh man, that seemed awful.
Ooh.
Like there's a subcontext to like, you know what you can rip on, and you're not actually making fun
So
of
my
them.
rule in the barber shop is, don't come up in here, like unless you need that therapy, because I believe like men kind of need to be shown that it's not that serious.
Yeah.
Because we are not allowed to be careless.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to only think of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's not true of only men, but I just mean that is a plight of being a good man.
Yeah.
And so the better you are at being a man, the more of sort of a safe space to where nothing is serious and everything is on the table as far as poking at.
Yeah.
It's kind of important.
Yeah.
You know, and those rooms are getting fewer and fewer.
Yeah.
And so I try to cultivate that in the barbershop. And I'll say that like someone came in recently and told a horrifying story about a motorcycle accident they were in. And from the first moment he started telling this story, we were just making fun of him. And it was his first time in the barbershop.
Yeah, yeah.
And he like still can't walk right because of this motorcycle accident. And we're just like, don't care.
But dude, there's a way to do it. Like I've had experiences. It's hard to tell if someone is making fun of you and you're outside the joke, or if someone's making fun of you and you're inside. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Like, I
sure,
can think-
sure, but
I
that's
can
the way
think-
you do it. You're right.
'Cause
You
I can
joke
think
in
of-
a way that brings like
Yes,
you're inside.
because
You're part
I-
of us now.
I have-
one of us.
Yes, I have clear, vivid memories of like 2 or 3 times where someone did that joke and I felt completely like, oh, like I'm out. Like this person tried to rib me, but it just made me feel like, wow, like I'm not part of this group now. Like you guys all hate me. Like, whereas there's a way to do it where it's like, hey, like this is fun, right? Like we're just joking around.
Yeah,
about
that's
this.
how close we are.
Yeah.
I'll drink out of your drink.
Yeah.
No offense, Adrian. And so I had a friend recently who, unfortunately, and totally not a joke, lost his father. And so he wanted to look nice for the memorial and the burial and came into the barber shop and told me the news. And oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But I could see that he needed it.
Yeah.
And I didn't make fun of his dad. I wouldn't do that. But to your point, there's a way of like being jovial about a situation and going, hey man, we're still alive.
Yeah.
That was comforting. And I finally found my shot. And at the very end, I style his hair up and it looked nice. And he was like, I'm never going to be able to recreate this tomorrow anyway. And I said, don't worry, your dad won't notice. And it was like exactly what he needed.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was like the moment of like, geez, all right, that was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't disrespectful, but at the same time, like, hey man, you're all right, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be all right.
Yeah, there's something about it's almost like what is it called? Like gallows humor or like emergency responder
No,
humor.
you're right. It's what's that guy called? The guy with the black hood.
Grim Reaper?
No, the one that.
The Undertaker.
No.
We're only going to get further away. You got to give us
Executioner's
some
humor.
details.
Spawn.
Executioner's humor.
Oh, yeah.
Gallows humor.
Where it's like playing up the absurdity about it because you need that kind of relief of like this is kind of absurd.
Right. Like, hey, don't lose your head over it.
Yeah. Was there a lot of that?
Swing.
Was there a lot of that? I'm sure there was a lot of that in the Marines.
Oh, yeah, but it gets dark.
Yeah.
And I won't.
I had a pastor who often got pretty dark about that kind
I'll
of stuff.
say that. So with my family
It's
background,
a little uncomfortable.
you make fun of people to show affection, and then joining the Marine Corps and getting kind of indoctrinated with that sort of gallows humor, if that's what you want to call it. And then just being in a barbershop environment for the last however long, it's totally a boys' club.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm locked and cocked for that situation.
Yeah.
You know, at all times. I have people that'll ask me about tattoos. Hey, where do you get your tattoos from? And we'll talk about tattoos, and then someone will always go, I don't have any. And I'll go, that's right, baby, because you don't put a bumper sticker on a Ferrari. Am I right? And they'll immediately go, he's making fun of me because I'm not a Ferrari. Right? Like, but then recently I did this bit that I'm actually kind of proud and ashamed of, equal parts. And I noticed a new tattoo on a guy's forearm. And so I was cutting hair, and he was the guy waiting to jump in the chair. And I looked at it enough to know that it was Odin, the god of
Norse god.
God of Thunder.
the Norse god. Yeah, well, I don't think
He's
he's
like the
his
top
dad.
dog in Norse
Isn't that
mythology.
Thor? Or is
Thor's
that Thor's
dad.
dad? Okay, gotcha.
So he's missing an eye, and there's lightning coming out of the eye. And
He's got some ravens involved.
He had this big Viking helmet on, but it was like a portrait almost. Like it was not American traditional like I get, but it was so well executed, and I knew exactly who it was. And I was like, dang, that's legit. And his skin was still red. Like, did you get that before you came here? You know, like it was so fresh. But because I am a jerk and in order to show my affection to this guy, I literally went, "Oh, is that a new tattoo?" And he went, "Yeah, man." And he's like totally stoked about it. And I just went, "Was that one of those dwarves from Lord of the Rings?" And he literally went, "No, it's Odin." And I literally went, "Oh yeah, I see it." And then I could totally see the wind leaving his sail. It's like, come on, man.
Dude, he probably walked home and was like went to his wife and was like,
and
look like
I had
one of
laid it
those.
on thick. I could see Lucky and the guy in his chair kind of like, what the heck is Juke's problem? That was brutal. And then I went, hey, buddy, I'm totally kidding. I'm messing with you. And I filled him in on the bit of like, that's what I do about new tattoos. That's just what I do. It's like the routine.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's messed up, man. Like, that's deeply psychologically
Dude,
trolling.
that's really wrong. Don't do that for your safety.
Like,
Like,
he was so relieved that now he's in on it.
yeah.
But for some reason, I have a sick pleasure with building that tension just so that I can release it for you.
Dude,
and go, don't you feel so much better now,
Now you're
that
like,
you know
"Oh,
that
God."
I'm just a sociopath?
Yeah.
It's like they escape a dangerous survival game that they didn't want to be in, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't
I'm
realize
social saw.
I'm so desperate.
Social solid.
I didn't realize. I've had a few friends say I didn't realize I'm so desperate for inside jokes that sometimes I do stuff like that and make everyone else in the room feel like really weird. So I'll like Brittany and then a few other people have said. So I love the joke where everyone's in a circle and I say something a certain way that you know that I know that that was a weird way to say it, but everyone else in the room is like, that was a weird way to say that.
Yeah.
So like, and then, but because you know me, you know that I just did it with a straight face, and now I'm in a
The
inside.
game is about bearing now.
That's the game. Yeah,
I play that game.
I love that game.
So I put Ryan. So I have another barber that he's done working for me after next week. This is his last week, but because he's doing his own thing in Oak Cliff. Shout out Ryan, Standard Firm. So we've worked together for like 7 years. He's one of my oldest friends, and because we've stood next to each other for 10 hours a day, and like you doing the strike three, we have gotten so bored of just doing flawless bald fades. If I don't mean to brag, that literally we will lie about who we are to new clients. Like, don't tell me you don't live here and that you're just passing through, because now the world is whatever I make it.
yeah.
I mean, I lie to barbers all the time.
Really? So,
but now you're saying
They don't
something
have a right to know what's going on
But
in
you're
my
saying
life.
you're saying something with a straight face, but the guy.
but he knows that I'm okay. So I'll give you one of my favorite examples. Is I worked next to this guy for a long time, and his name is Tom, right? And Tom was a little weird, and he was really into horror movies. He's like a horror movie fanatic, right? And him and his girlfriend at the time, for Thanksgiving, were taking a trip to like Seattle, Washington, and they're going to go to this horror con, and they're going to meet some important illustrator for like some important horror movie, right? And I don't remember all the information now, but I remember him talking with one of his clients right next to me about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I got a really great working memory. Like,
Yeah.
like short-term memory, horrible.
Yeah.
Long-term memory, great. Working memory is like, I can flex,
Yeah.
right? And so literally I just kind of quickly memorize all of the details of his trip. And then 30 minutes later, we have a new audience. And the guy in my chair, I go, hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And he tells me, it doesn't matter. I'm just waiting for my turn. And literally I go, oh, that's cool. And then I just kind of like go about my business. He goes, what about you? Yes, now it's time.
Yes.
And I go, well, actually, me and my wife are huge horror movie fanatics, and we're going to Seattle, Washington, because there's actually this movie where this illustrator so-and-so, and he's going to be there. And I'm like, I grew up just a fan of this guy. And so
Dude.
it's probably one of the most important trips of my life, to be honest. And then I'm slowly turning the client as I'm cutting his hair to where he's facing Tom.
Oh gosh.
And Tom is like doing like triple, quadruple takes. Like, am I hearing what I think I'm hearing. And then he looks up at me like really confused because he doesn't understand the bit.
Yeah.
And I go, what about you, Tom? And now me and this guy are facing him. So like your reaction is now live.
Yeah.
And I go, what about you, Tom? What are you doing over the break? And he went, oh, he's like in the middle of cutting hair and he literally went, oh. And then he like leaned in and went, why are you doing this? And I was just like, because I'm a psycho. Like,
Dude, I loved, dude, at staff meetings, I think I've talked about this on the podcast a lot. At staff meetings at church, I loved it because like Jared and Nick, so good friends, would be in the room, and then everyone else is being really serious.
yeah.
And so I would just say stuff, and everyone else that's hearing it thinks it's like the most that happens to them is they go, oh, that's a little, but then they just move on. But then Jared and Nick have this pressure, like you're doing to Tom or whoever, is like they have this pressure to not laugh. Because everyone's like,
Can't-
it's
you
all
can't
you
blow
can't
it.
just be the
Can't blow
you
it.
can't be the person laughing because now everyone's
Yeah,
like,
everyone's
wait,
like,
why are you
what's
laughing? And then
going
I
on?
look at them like, wait, what's the
What's
What's
the
the
problem?
deal?
So
my
sometimes
gosh, I love doing
customers will say, come in and say like pomade instead of pomade.
Yeah, imagine not pronouncing
And
it.
so
imagine
we
not
have
pronouncing a last name.
we
correctly.
have a rule
Ridiculous.
where if a customer's like, do you guys use pomade here? And I'll go, oh, we have a couple different kinds of pomade. Like you don't
You just keep going.
yeah, and then it's a game of bearing because then the other
What do you say? A
barbers
game of bearing? What does that mean?
bearing meaning like you keep your composure.
Well, what's bearing?
Man, maybe that's a military
keep
term.
your wits about you. Keep your bearings.
Is that a
about
military
you.
thing? Bearing? Oh, your bearings?
Yeah, your military bearing.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Bearing is about
Technically.
how professional you're being. So
10-4,
like
10-4.
this is my 100% professional face.
Yeah.
And everything I talk to, everything I say sounds like this.
Yeah.
And I can deliver any amount of news, no matter how absurd or horrible, right? I can give you bad news. Hey, he has cancer.
Yeah.
He's going to die.
Tell me my daughter was disemboweled in a
I'm
car
sorry
accident.
for your loss. Okay. What's her name?
Kateri.
Kateri?
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Is it Kateri?
Yeah, Kateri. It's a Native American name. Thank you.
Edmund, I'm sorry to tell you, but Kateri was disemboweled in a...
See, you can't do
I
it.
lost my bearing.
Okay, you lost your bearings.
And that's what that's called. Not bearings. It's just bearing.
Okay, he lost his bearing.
I thought it was bearing.
Okay.
You know what I found out recently? This is a very small note. Tyrone is an Irish name.
What? No.
I'm 100% serious.
Doesn't
Look it up.
surprise me.
Look it up, Jamie.
Look it up. I'm
How's it spelled?
Tyrone.
It just came up with is Tyrone an Irish name? That's a Tyrone. That's the whitest
All right,
looking
Tyrone
guy.
is an allocation of the Irish name for the area.
Tyrone. 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 Tyrone.
66% white.
Dang, dude.
I knew a guy named Tyrone. No, it was Jerome. I'm sorry. There's a white dude from South Africa whose name was Jerome. And so he just had a hard time.
Now, you touch so many people's heads. Is it hard not to fall in love with some people?
Yeah.
Is touching heads like a thing that makes you fall in love with people?
It is a very
Smelling
intimate
heads
thing.
can be.
Smelling heads makes more sense to me than touching heads.
Well, it's an intimate thing. Like touching someone's face or head. I know you've been doing it for a long
I'd
time.
like to say that it's a clinical thing.
All right.
For you,
It's very sterile. And what's weird is I would never touch your hair outside of the context of you sitting in my barber chair.
because then it's weird.
It'd be real weird.
Then it's intimate.
However,
Once you're in,
there's been a couple of times where I've been like somewhere and someone was like, can you please help and tell me, like, is there any hope?
and then you put your
And
hand.
they're asking me for a on the spot consultation.
Yeah.
And so if I can get them sitting and I'm standing, then it feels the same to me.
Then it goes into.
and so then I can touch your hair and it's
Yeah.
not weird to me.
Yeah.
However, there's been a couple moments where I almost like I see through the glass of that very, very thin veil.
And then
Oh.
you're like, I'm just a dude.
I'm just a dude running my fingers through your hair. Like, because I'll literally run my fingers through people's hair to kind of
Yeah.
get a sense of like,
And then the
how long is
silence.
this?
Yeah.
What shape is your head?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
where are we going? How
Yeah.
does this lay?
Yeah.
And so literally someone who maybe I met you at a bar and you were like,
Yeah.
I gotta come see you. And I'm like, that'd be great. And then you make an
And
appointment.
then I'm like, no, but now. Like,
and then
like, do it now.
And then you come and you sit in the barber chair and within moments, like we're talking about like, hey, wasn't that a crazy night at the bar and whatever? And now I'm just running my fingers through your
yeah,
hair.
now you're like,
And now I'm like grabbing the back of your head.
All right, I have a barber question. So I have a long scar on my head. When I was a little kid, I was born with a deformed skull. We had, surgery on my head. They messed
Okay.
up the surgery. There was a small malpractice.
I was gonna
lawsuit.
ask.
What? There was a
And-
malpractice lawsuit?
Yeah, it's the reason I have a nice
How
car.
have you never brought this up? You don't have a nice car. You have a Prius.
It's a 2018
First of all,
Prius.
that's
It's
Yeah.
not that nice. Wait. But
You don't
are we
have a
not-
car, Edmund.
Wait, but are we all
you,
gonna like,
you do not have a
Well,
car.
out of choice? Wait, are we all
Wait a
gonna
minute,
accept?
wait a minute.
Wait, are we
You
all?
have a car.
Are we
you
all gonna-
just can't drive it.
Are we all gonna accept though that you just threw out there that's why you have such a nice car?
Yeah.
Because of something that happened when you're an infant. That's why you're driving a Prius.
Yeah, there was a
today?
malpractice
Dude,
lawsuit. There was
I
money
have
involved.
hoped-
My father's very controlling. He said he would let me use the money on that car specifically because he wanted a tax credit.
Wait, but that was like years,
Yeah.
18 years
Yeah,
later.
it's sat in a savings account.
But that's good for your dads to set. I mean, if I was your
That's
parents,
discipline.
if I was your parents, I wouldn't be like, this malpractice goes to my son. I'd just be like, oh, this is family money.
I would have went to WinStar and put it all in black.
yeah.
So, regardless of my father's
How have
decision
you
on
never brought this up?
have you ever had malpractice? I don't know.
Why do you think his hair's so
doesn't
long? He looks like
come up.
Well, I just-
dark-headed
No, that's
Dexter
part of the
from
reason. I
season
got a
2.
buzz cut at one point, and the scar was super visible.
Okay, I served with a guy, so I started cutting hair in the Marine Corps. I don't. The Marine Corps at some point feels like my band camp. Like I hate constantly referencing it.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like the lamest person of all time.
We could come up
I
with
was
a different way.
I was IT in the Marine Corps. Like
Yeah.
I am not a hero.
Just say like
it's
in
just-
your past.
Sure.
We could come up with a different way.
when
to
I was
you.
working in
you for
California.
your service.
So anyway, I started cutting hair in the Marine Corps. You guys know that. One of the guys he was letting me cut his hair in my garage. He was my sergeant. His name was Sergeant May, Rick May, and he has a. I'm sorry, dude, if you're watching this, dude. He has a handprint in his head.
Oh, I think I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And literally, like, he was like, no, like, put your right hand in it. And because I was like, you got like a lump back here, dude. And he was like, put your right hand in it. And it's like you feel the thumb and you feel like, it's like, oh, that's a handprint. He goes, I didn't know it was there until I was he was in high school. He was playing football. Him and a bunch of other football players were like shaving their heads for like some game. He was at a buddy's house, so his mom wasn't there. And they were like, you gonna do it, May? And he's like, heck yeah, I'm gonna do it. And they shave his head too. And then everyone's like, oh, what is going on here? And he goes, what? And they're like, bro, you should go to the doctor.
You should talk
He's
to your
like,
mom.
and he goes home and he's like, hey, what the heck, Mom? She immediately starts crying and is like, I promised I'd never talk about it again. Now, when he was telling me this story, it was when he came back from leave because his mother had unfortunately passed away. And so I was like, did you ever get any closure? And he was like, she took it to the grave with her, dude.
She never told the story of how that happened.
She took it to the grave with her, dude.
Dude,
insane.
how do you leave a handprint in someone's head?
I hope that he got a Prius out of it at least.
Well, as I was saying before, I was topped by a much cooler head scar story. Every barber ever is
No.
always.
Before that, just give us a background on like what happened. Like, was it encephalitis?
It was just-
encephalitis.
I don't know,
Senesis?
some disease I was born with as a child. Like
It wasn't lupus. I've seen 4 seasons of House. It's never lupus.
All I know
never
about
lupus.
it is that Jorge Posada, the baseball player, has a kid with it. And my dad said you should root for him because that kid's like you, and that kid's head was deformed. Like my head would have been seriously Martian looking.
So because when infants are born, like their skull does kind of fold in so they can make it through the birth canal, which you know what the birth canal is, right?
I
Kyle?
know what the birth canal
We'll
is.
save it for the Patreon. But there's a birth canal, but the head there is like I forget
a
what it's
minute.
called, but there's a line across the top of your skull that does. So maybe that was what the issue was it wasn't coming back together. Maybe
I don't like to talk to my mother about her birth canal, but all I know,
I can
Dude.
call it. I
Is-
can call her.
every
Patreon story.
every barber ever is like, "Yo, big scar," and I always thought that was like the lamest thing to say. I'm like, "Yeah, I know,"
Yeah.
like, and I only ever talk about
Wait a
it
minute. What did they say?
with my bars. They go, "Yo, there's a huge scar in your head." I'm like, "Oh, no, no shit."
Didn't know about that till just now.
And it's one of those things I only talk about it with my barbers because my hair is usually pretty long, so I like
Yeah.
it long. You know, I don't want to show off the scar. I'm not like very upset about it, but it's just a weird thing. It just never really comes up in conversation. But my point is, what I'm realizing is
Edmund
that
didn't even know about it.
those
Didn't know.
barbers saying that to me is the same as when I went up to the mall cop and said, "You were great in Paul Blart."
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Full
It's
circle.
like the very obvious thing you're staring at to say that they get every time.
So what was the malpractice loss?
I wasn't supposed to have a scar. And when they did the lawsuit, they thought it was going to be a lot thicker. They thought it was going to be about an inch of no hair. As it stands, it's about like Sharpie thickness. So you really can't see it unless I have a buzz cut or
you
you
should give that
touch it.
Prius back.
Wait, so it was their fault that you have a scar?
They thought I was gonna have a bigger scar. My dad is a lawyer. Sued. I don't know who, if he sued or his buddy sued. Someone sued the hell out of him. Someone got sued.
Because it just looked bad the way they did the surgery.
Yeah, and they thought, like, the doctor had said it's gonna be like an inch thick of no hair, kind of this like terrible reverse mohawk. And the original idea for the money my dad had put aside for when I got old enough and like my head stopped
Hair
growing.
transplant.
Yeah, like that, or it's like a really like quality toupee or something. And then as I got older,
$18,000 toupee.
dude, apparently it gets expensive.
Actually,
when they sew it
wouldn't
in.
we closer to like a $45,000 toupee? How much was that Prius?
It was that money came to me. I paid for the rest of it. That was what enabled me to get the car.
It's
It
so
was
funny
it was about
because-
18,000. It's
because-
actually a pretty accurate guess for the record.
It's so funny because of all the people in my friend circle, I often, like, there are very few people that I look at and go, man, he's got a good head of hair. And I often think of you as having a good head of hair.
I fight through the
The
struggle.
maybe not so much tonight, but like normally you have like a pretty good head of hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm very self confident in my hair. It's just one Sharpie thickness. It's no hair.
No shampoo, no comb.
I shampoo occasionally.
That's your thing, right?
Yeah, it's natural. I shampoo.
But no comb.
Yeah, why would
And
I
no
comb my hair?
product.
If you never comb your hair and you never use product, you never will have a
You
bad
don't
hair
put
day.
any pomade in it?
Yeah, why would I do that?
Yeah, that's true. No pomade.
But
Pomade.
You
the
also
point,
have a texture to your hair.
yeah,
His hair's thick, right?
Mm,
You describe it as thick. It seems thicker than mine.
I'd have to do a consultation.
You would have to be sitting and he would have to be standing behind you.
it would have to be in the context of the shop.
Adrian, do we have any current events?
By the way,
Or do we have any notes or anything?
I was meaning to talk to you about that podcast because I was going to try to work out a payment that involved haircuts so I could like look professional in my day-to-day life.
Are we allowed to
Nice.
talk about this tonight? Brittany told us not to.
hold on, guys. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Today
Yep.
at the barber shop, for the first time in my entire life, I engaged with a troll
On social media, or he was in
Yeah.
your barbershop?
on social media.
Okay.
There was a guy that was just totally trolling these other barbers on like a barber banter sort of page. But he was saying stuff and I was like, yo, that's not true. Like these guys are legit. And you're like accusing them of something that it isn't true. Like, do you not understand that?
Just put the mic closer to your face.
Are you just being a troll or do you believe this?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Are you serious? Look at their stuff, blah blah blah." And it got so out of hand. And this guy's like in the UK, so it's like 1 a.m. for him,
Yeah.
and it's like whatever time that is, Canadian for us.
Yeah.
And straight up, I'm like, I've never done this before, but by the end of it, I was like, oh, first of all, I'm not better than this guy. I am this guy at this point.
Yeah.
Second of all, it was so weirdly addicting. At some point, I was like, even out loud, I was like, what am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
This guy's trying to convince me of something, and I'm trying to convince him that, you're wrong. And the more we went, the further we went, the emptier I felt.
Yeah. It's bad.
And what I realized is like, is this the slippery slope? Like, people get trapped in this kind of social engagement where like these are the vibes all
Yeah.
day long for them, between them and everybody else, because they're mostly online just communicating with the strangers horribly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I don't ever want to experience this again.
See, that's interesting. Every time I've been sucked into arguments, it's always been a positive feedback. Like, I'm a big Reddit guy, but I don't really comment much. I only comment if I have like a really funny bit. Every once in a while, I'll make a great comment, and I get more likes on Reddit than anything else. Like, I'm never going to receive 500 likes on a comment on Edmund's Facebook. That'll
But I
just
get it.
never
You're
happen.
kind of a Reddit guy.
I'm a huge Reddit guy.
That adds all the way up.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Like, you play well to Reddit. I could see that.
But what'll happen is, and I've been on Reddit for 7 years now, way too freaking long. The site's only getting worse, and maybe I'm getting older. But for me, it's always positive. It'll be like, I had a comment during a football game once, and I got 2,000 likes, and I was shocked. I remember thinking, 2,000 people saw this, read it, and thought, like, that's a lot of people. So I started commenting a ton more, trying to chase that high.
Wow.
And I was striking out because I don't have a comment for every post that's
were
like
forcing it.
actually adding to the conversation.
See?
And I think it's interesting that we both sort of described that sort of foray into a lot of commenting, and mine was chasing a high and yours was kind of getting dragged. I think it's interesting. Two very similar things where
Yeah.
you feel worse and worse as you keep doing it.
That's true. That's true.
but from two very different.
But this guy had been doing it all day. This guy had been doing it like I jumped in the his mix.
Yeah.
You know, potentially halfway through his just today's trajectory, and I thought, man, this guy.
The hard part with a lot of people like that, I enjoy sometimes.
But again,
like,
I'm no better.
Yeah.
I'm no better.
Well, it's fun sometimes. Like, I've had people on YouTube, like, they'll comment long, like.
Big anonymous guy.
They'll do, like, apologetics type stuff. Like, because some of my YouTube content is kind of obviously Catholic. So people will, like, they'll post their, like.
Try to convert you to.
Yeah, or they'll
be a
post their, like,
Presbyterian.
oh, you believe this? Well, and then, like, you know, Jesus said this, what about this scripture verse? And then what about this? And then what about, and sometimes I'll like, there was one guy where I would like, you know, respond and I was.
You entertained.
Yeah. And the problem is when everyone's doing 5 paragraphs at a time is that everyone's only like, you'll do 5 paragraphs and it'll be great, but he'll find one sentence and he won't totally understand it. He'll twist it. He'll twist the subject and the object, and then that will be his next 5 sentences about that. And you're like, no, but what about? And then it just keeps going that way, where you do 5, he does 5, and then and then it's just pointless. Like there's no way to keep. Most people can't like follow.
It's because you're actually just taking turns.
Yeah.
Monologuing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Have you ever had one over multiple days? 2 nights ago, I was
yeah.
on a baseball Reddit, and this shocked me. I'd never done multiple days before. Some guy commented something making fun of an Astros player that wasn't true, and I was like, "You're wrong." And he was getting like seriously negative votes, and I was like, "Heck yes, I'm gonna rip this guy. I'm just gonna pile on." And I got him, and then he responded, and I got him again, then he responded, and I responded, and I was like, "Dude, like this is ridiculous." And then he didn't respond after that. I was like, oh, like, we're good to go. Woke up the next morning around lunch. I checked Reddit again. There was a response from the morning after.
Yeah.
And that shocked me because I had never been in I didn't respond to that. I was like, dude, I don't care anymore. Like, I was on this bit last night. It's yesterday's news. But that was crazy to me that this guy, and I looked at his page, and he's just fighting battles across the website.
Tons of, yeah. That's what a lot of those people do.
And that was just insane to me because, like, I was very willing to argue with this guy, but, like, I could never. Like, if I go on Reddit, like, I'm looking at one thing a night. Like, if I'm looking at sports stuff, that's all I'm really going to look at tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm not on it for that many hours. But this guy was, like, arguing with me on the baseball one. He was arguing with so-and-so on the football one. And 3 different dudes at once on, like, some job technology, like, IT thing. I was like, that's insane. Like, what do you get? What do you get the enjoyment out of
You just got to ignore it because they just want the attention.
Yeah, it was sad, honestly. That the dude woke up, because I could see the time of the response. He had gone to bed kind of after his comment. And, 8-9 hours later, back online, ready to pop at, with a fresh cup of coffee in his hand. I'm like, man, what are you doing?
Dude, that's all they do. So we had a Grapevine. This is in current events. We had a Grapevine resident, Wally Funk.
What?
Pronounced
Who's that?
Wooly Funk?
Wally Funk, you got it right.
Wally Funk, 82 years old. She's the oldest woman in space. She recently flew. Now, did they actually get to space, though? Because they
Wait a minute. So
they went up like
Grapevine
60
woman.
miles. Yeah, she's a Grapevine
There's
resident.
only like 5 people on the thing, right?
Yeah.
What
and
thing? Who went to space?
So Jeff Bezos, right, Adrian? So Jeff Bezos flew his rocket ship. Now, they didn't like...
Sky rockets in flight.
They went up really high and then came back down, but they weren't like orbiting the Earth, right? It was like they went up, they hung out they chilled for a little bit up there,
Yeah,
and then
so
they
they
came
barely
back down.
hit before orbit. I forgot what it's exactly called, but they're able to float still. So
Yeah.
I mean, it counts.
If you're floating, it looks like they're seeing the Earth there.
Yeah, no, they are.
But they're also seeing not the Earth.
What do those people talk about on the flight? It's like, you got this 80-year-old lady, you got the 18-year-old guy.
Yeah.
You
How
got,
old they
Yeah,
are.
Jeff Bezos, his brother. So what they started doing, they just started like just doing tricks, and they started throwing Skittles at each other and catching it with their mouths, like just like that. But it's still pretty cool.
So what's history making about this? I mean, can you imagine like you're
It's like the
trapped?
first private.
Can you imagine
one.
being trapped in a little room like this with Jeff Bezos, like
An
Here's
80-year-old
my
woman?
question is-
who's basically like who's
What was
basically
the
like
point?
Yeah,
just to get, it's a private mission to space. Like this is
Oh, okay, so
not
he just
NASA.
has enough money to make it happen.
yeah. So
And that 82-year-old woman, why did she get selected?
because
Look at her.
She had a history of aviation. I was like,
well, because like she was part of this project called Project Mercury. We reached out to her to
Project
hopefully get her on the
Mercury.
show, but she was training to be an astronaut to go to space, but NASA declined because she was a woman. And there's a woman who's been to space since then, right? But because of that
Multiple
multiple.
women.
But because of that program,
At
they
the
were
time.
training to do it. They she didn't get picked. So she's been flying planes for over 60 years, and she's taught over 3,000 hours of flight to like kids, students, and everything. So they're like, yeah, you want to come? Like, you
So
were
she's
promised
a
this.
badass. They found
Yeah.
out about her.
But she
and
also
they said,
probably
"You
paid.
should come."
But she also probably paid like $5 million, right?
I don't know. I think she got selected.
The cost of the tickets are like
I was gonna
crazy.
say, I think they gave her
They
the
gave her,
ticket
yeah.
as sort of like they need some sort of positive PR for this like
Wow.
gigantic.
Yeah,
That's
because
interesting.
one person who had like bought a ticket apparently didn't want to go on
But it
anymore.
was scheduling conflict. They paid 28
Yeah,
million.
because he had a meeting he couldn't miss. Apparently,
His-
yeah, like
Dude, he's a great dad.
and
He's
then
trying
they
to be there for
replaced him
softball.
with this 18-year-old kid. Man,
Yeah.
it was fishy as
He
heck.
watched that movie Hook.
Yeah.
He heard that song, when we're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
and the
we're
cat's in the
cradle in the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man. Single tear.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy though. Grapevine woman goes to space. Now, Richard Branson also sent one like the day before,
Dude.
or
Gotta
the
get
who's the other guy?
clearance.
Virgin Mobile
Virgin
guy.
guy, Richard Branson.
He sent a missile, or he sent
Sir.
a missile. He sent a rocket like
Richard Branson.
the day before or
oh,
something.
I didn't hear about that.
But it's funny that this one made more press.
Oh,
yeah,
he
'cause
got
it's-
up there and was like,
it's
first.
Bezos.
Well, the first
He
person would
worked out
be
way
Elon Musk, right?
Talk about a midlife crisis. You go
Oh,
through
no,
a
no, no.
divorce. went to
This is the
space.
first manned private mission to space, right?
Space Cowboy.
No,
dude.
Because
there's
Elon
been-
Musk
there's,
is
there's been man private like his Elon Musk has SpaceX and has people on board to space.
okay.
But Elon Musk hasn't been to space. But now Bezos like, yo, I've been to space. You haven't even been there. Maybe it just like kind of like
you don't
talking
even know.
kinda
One day,
shit.
one day you'll know what space is
Yeah.
like, Elon.
but because of this, there's actually a recent bill a congressman trying to pass or a politician trying to pass in.
People can't go?
in Oregon.
Space
He,
tourism.
he wants to tax people traveling to space.
From Oregon? Who's traveling to space from Oregon?
Well, no, like the senator from Oregon or something like this.
I mean, you know, there's
He's
a
like,
bishop in the
we
moon
oughta
as
get
part.
paid every
of
time
his
they
jurisdiction,
leave
right?
the Earth.
You know, there's a bishop in the moon's part of his jurisdiction, right?
In the moon's part? What?
Yeah, yeah. So this
Which
is
bishop?
something that was
the Bishop
taught-
of Alaska, or
Florida.
something? Florida.
I'm 100% serious.
Because the NASA base is there or something.
Because the NASA base is there. So this was explained to me in high school. You know, I didn't research this myself, but I believe it was Taylor Marshall actually who said that.
So it's credible.
Very, very credible. The way it works, according to him, is that whenever they discovered new lands back in the day, until they assigned a specific bishop to that land, the bishop of whoever they set off on the journey from is the bishop of the new land, kind of until they figure
That
it
makes
out.
sense. That makes sense.
So technically speaking,
Until
since-
there's a cathedral on the moon,
Yeah.
it will just remain in the jurisdiction of.
The Bishop of Florida.
yeah, of whatever section of Florida they shot it from, and I just think that's insane. Like when people think, "Oh, I want to be like the Bishop of Rome to be the Pope," you want to be the Bishop of Earth.
Bishop of the Moon.
Dumb. I'm taking that small area of Florida,
Yeah.
10 out of 10. No stress, and looking up every night and thinking like, "There's an issue up there. I'll tell them what to do."
Yeah.
I got that on the lock.
That's
And it
pretty
makes
cool.
sense because that's a very practical idea. Like, oh, we discovered a new island that's
Yeah.
really big. All right,
Yeah.
well, in the meantime, we'll let because that's
Until we
probably
give them small
closer.
Because
Box or
the people
whatever.
that are going there are our parishioners or
Right,
our.
it's their
Until our
parishioners.
microbiomes eat them alive.
Yeah, that's how they did it back in the day. You just grind it out, and the strong survive, and then if they're strong enough to
Whoa.
survive, they can have their own bishop.
Yeah, man. Give
But
the-
until that day, it's probably close-ish wherever they travel
Man, what do you?
from.
Who are you guys? Inuits? Oh, what is your guys' whole deal? We're just like eating root vegetables and blubber. Like, we got something way better. It's called rice and wheat. And they're like, this is delicious. I know, right? And now diabetes all over. Thanks,
Oh, man.
Catholicism.
So Kanye's new album tonight, Donda.
What?
His mother's name.
That's his mother's name, Donda.
Yep. Kyle, you.
I have been to see her.
What does this have to do with
her
the
maus-
Nike
her
commercial?
Where's your hat?
mausoleum.
Where's your hat at?
So he announced he's barely releasing the album. What, Monday or Tuesday, something like that?
I mean, he changes all the time. Like
Right.
if you followed in 2015, for those who remember, or maybe it was 2016, he was like, "Yeah, I'm doing a live stream. The album's coming out tomorrow." Took like a week. He does this very frequently. He did a live stream in 2018 of the Yay album. He's like, "Yeah, it's coming out tonight." It took a couple days.
Yeah.
But tonight he's supposedly, I haven't checked it.
I'm checking right now. He hasn't released it yet.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. He did do a live stream for it, and I thought it was fascinating, just the promo for this deal. And I think it sort of shows and affirms my belief that Kanye is the really last great American rock star who can do what he does. What do I mean when I say that is that with less than 1 week of promotion, he put out a couple commercials during the finals and a couple Instagram posts. All in the span of like 4 or 5 days, he sold out an $80,000 arena. Not for a concert, to hear the new album. I think that's insane. And he was actually selling tickets, and they were selling like hotcakes based off of the rumor that it was him. It said there's an unnamed artist debuting an album at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And people were like, yeah, we're like 80% sure it's Kanye, so we're dropping $120. I think that's insane.
Yeah, that is pretty
Like,
wild.
there's a lot of artists who have that sort of following, you know, like Drake, Taylor Swift. A lot of people have those fans. I just don't know if 80,000 people are like, yo, I want to hear this in bad PA quality, so I'm going driving 6 hours. And like, yeah, if I wasn't going to a wedding this
and
weekend,
every
might have been
album
there.
release has been like this. It's been like 2 weeks of marketing.
Not really.
A week, usually just a week.
Hold on, hold on.
Well, no,
I still remember.
A week.
There's a lot more promotion
There was
than
like
in the
a
past.
year
There's
when it came to the one that he released on
gospel one?
9/11.
Oh no, I don't remember
Whoa,
that.
I don't, Kyle?
the 9/11
He was head to head. It was one with I always had a passion for flashing. Even before I had it, I closed my eyes and imagined. Good life.
Yeah, for
So-
graduation. Well, that
so-
that makes a lot of sense.
That one, him and 50 Cent were arguing a lot about who should release theirs
And who's
on
going to sell
9/11.
more? That was the huge deal of that era.
And of course, Kanye West was like, "You should probably change your release date because I'm gonna sell more than you if you try to have the same release date." And they didn't. But I think that 50 Cent knew he was gonna sell way more with this buzz
Yeah,
than he would have if it didn't have something to do with something novel.
Kanye, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Kanye's promotion schedule has varied a lot. The last 3 or 4 albums have been sort of this mysterious mystique. But at this point, particularly with the themes of the album Graduation, this is his least personal album. It's the most about the fame. It's the stadium tour album where his promotion typically tries to line it up with the album. What I mean when I say that is Graduation, it's like, welcome to the good life. You know, it's all these songs about like, you know, I'm the man, you know, work it back harder, faster, stronger, that aren't very personal. There's not a lot about his life. There's not all the stuff about his mother that you experience, you know, 808s and every album afterwards. So I think that makes sense. If you're sort of doing this commentary on this stadium tour, on this graduation, on this ascent into superstardom, you know, his 3rd album, at this point, he was the man. It would make sense that, and obviously, if there's one thing you know about Kanye fans, is that they will reach for anything. We will reach for any excuse to be like, oh, it's part of the vision. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
He's a genius.
But I think it lines
He's
up
not
like,
hey, I'm saying you're hearing it here first. Juke, what do I think? I don't think Kanye's a genius. I think he's awesome, but I don't think he's a genius because words are compelling.
so regardless of what you believe, I do think that falls really well in line with the theme of the album, with this larger-than-life character, the superstar, you know, letters on the big sign, and like the
I think he's
music videos.
eccentric. I think
Very
that he's entertaining. I think that he's a guy that has gotten enough math problems right to where now he believes that he doesn't have to show his work when he turns in
Oh yeah, for
his math
sure.
papers. So like he's like pi squared, and you're like, how'd you get there? And he's like, I'm a genius.
He's like, I mean,
And
this is
you're
what I
like,
do.
hey, you gotta show your work.
Yeah.
And so he'd just say random stuff like 500 years of slavery. That sounds like a choice. And everyone's like, don't say that. Don't say that, Kanye. And he's like, I'm a genius.
I'm just saying.
But no, but has
gotta
he
look
ever
below-
missed on a studio
George
album?
Bush doesn't like
Doesn't
black
care
people.
about black
doesn't care
people.
about black people.
But no,
Yeah.
but that's the thing, is we can criticize him all we want. Has he ever released a studio album that was a miss?
Nope.
Miss in terms of record.
Miss
record
in
sales.
terms
Jesus is
of
King.
just critical.
No.
Jesus King is, you could say that, and I think that's fair. I think it's a phenomenal commentary on the evangelical cycle.
I actually really, really love the album for its content and its concepts. I think as far as Christian music is concerned, it really broke the mold and kind of said, hey, you could be original. You could kind of
Shake
look
it
at
up.
this from a different angle and really, really express and sing about things that are very much God-centric, but that also tell a story, right? I mean, there was a lot about the album that I really, really thoroughly enjoyed. But from a production standpoint, it was rushed and has been torn apart.
There's no way you can listen to Use This Gospel and think this was rushed. It was insane. But I will concede that I'm incredibly biased towards that album just because it was Kanye went full Christian for an album, and I cannot judge it objectively because, I'm a fanatical Christian, right?
Sure.
And it was like a moment. It was like all the story around it. Because
Right, and
the idea of Kanye
just
doing that.
the full concept of the man walking through his faith. The first half of the album, it's this immature face, I'm like yelling at his God. He has like Chick-fil-A way too much. He's everybody. Just went to Jesus camp and is now into it. And then the final and the ending and the change, and then the loop back in the beginning is exactly like the Catholic evangelical model, where it's like you get converted, you learn a little bit, you serve a little, and then you convert other people. Once again. Is it just one of those Kanye fans? We want to reach for something, so we do it because why do I want Kanye to be a genius? Because I want to believe that a genius exists. I want to believe that, right? Can't think of anyone else in the musical world who is like him. And I want to live in a world where those geniuses exist. So I'm very biased towards it. I want to believe so badly. So I don't pretend like it's objective. If you can't see it, you're blind. No. But, man, I thought that album was phenomenal. But, yeah. When you compare it to the other stuff and like the magnum opus and just like the grand spectacle of some of the albums in the past, it's tough.
Do you want to know a spoiler for tonight? You want to know one of the features? Jay-Z's back. He recorded his reverse 7 hours ago.
That's insane. It's such a moment,
dude.
Wait, what? He recorded? So wait, say that
So
again?
Jay-Z and Kanye haven't had like a track together for like since Watch the Throne, basically,
yeah,
right?
it's
so Watch the Throne 2, their album together, is supposed to be teased for like a while now.
Yeah, Watch the Throne. He announced it 3 years ago. Said, "Yo, it's coming soon."
Yeah, it's coming soon, right? But so they haven't been on eye to eye because Kanye's been, he's had his media issues and stuff. Well, Jay-Z recorded his verse 7 hours ago
for the album that releases
album,
tonight,
and now he went on stage to perform with Kanye. That's a go. Jay-Z
wait, they're on stage performing?
Yeah, it's.
So they did perform.
So
huh?
they're performing. The album may not release tonight. But the live event happened, and it's already
happened.
happened.
I thought at the live event they were just playing
I was on. That was the impression I read when I was reading about it.
No.
They're
Edmund.
performing.
So he did perform.
So he performed the album, but the album isn't out yet.
See, I thought he was like the
I thought they were
Pablo
just
tour where he
playing.
just plugged his laptop in and played it, and everyone got hype.
Well, from what I've seen so far,
I mean, I believe you. If I cannot pretend that Kanye will do exactly what the Pitchfork article says he would, that's
but apparently it's like a legendary performance happening.
I
Right
can't
now.
wait to
I
watch it.
can't wait to watch it. There's also other features if you want to know.
I saw the list. But
Who?
Don Toliver, he's a pretty famous rapper. Pop Smoke, who passed. That one I'm a little iffy about. I usually don't like posthumous records or features or tracks.
Wait, so he died, but he's performing tonight.
Posthumous.
Posthumous.
it happens.
Damn it.
Is that after the
How
leg?
about did Cardi make it on there?
Anatomy joke.
Go to the moon.
Apparently he did. I don't know.
Go to the moon.
Go to the moon.
Go to the moon.
Go to the moon.
Okay, I think we need to wrap it up, guys, because
No,
this is way out of
Go to
my
the moon.
element. This
No,
is way out of my league
We're
here.
only at an hour 40. We're
Oh,
good.
jeez.
So
This
long.
is a Adrian and Kyle conversation.
Yeah, this is
Kanye
really
bit.
becoming
to the
Adrian
moon.
Kyle. This is becoming a Kanye.
You and
the
me are
moon.
old dads, and these two kids are talking about Kanye West.
Yeah, I mean, we hung for a few minutes there. And then,
Hey, Kanye's got 3 kids, man.
4 kids.
yeah,
4
he's
kids.
just an everyman. He's just, Kanye just.
Not as many
wait,
kids
wait,
as
wait,
Edmund.
He's a Bruce
like-
Springsteen
Get like
of our age.
Edmund.
He's
Wait,
basically
real quick.
The
let's-
Bruce Springsteen.
I would say he's the Garth Brooks of our age.
Yeah.
Let's react to his
He's
merch
just a
real quick. Let me
regular
see if his
guy.
merch is
He's
out.
just a regular guy.
Say,
He
I saw-
understands the plight of the flyover
There's a lot of
states.
pics on like
Yeah.
Grailed. I mean, how does it feel to know you have had more kids than Kanye West?
I feel good. I feel like I'm more of a genius
You've
than
left.
he is.
You've left more
But
of
less divorces.
Yeah, less divorces, way more impregnations
Hang on.
that we know of.
Nice.
That's
It is.
badass.
Both for Kanye and me. That we know of.
Really?
Yeah, that we know of. I mean, I just have to say like that we know of.
I mean, yeah,
Really?
give the benefit of the doubt.
I mean,
it could
who
go either
knows?
way. There's no way
Who
to tell.
knows?
He's got a timer on for Yeezy supply.
God knows.
More
God knows.
Yeezys. I want to see his new Donda merch. How much it is?
Gone to
and-
merch.
Any big last thoughts here, Juke, on anything we talked about? Anything we want to loop back on?
No.
That's right.
All right,
folks.
that's a wrap.
I'd like you guys to, if you're here in Grapevine, to come check my barbershop out. It's right off of Main Street. It's on College. It's called Close Knit Barbershop.
Boom. August 25th, Juke's going to be at the Tempe Improv. He's going to be at the Ice House September 4th. Tell him your dates, Kyle.
I was gonna say if you come up to Juke and you tell him, hey, I've got a great story, he's gonna run. He's gonna run down the street. It won't be Sunset Boulevard, but it's gonna be just as athletic, folks.
Show Juke your tattoos, and that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks, Adrian.
All right, cool.
Talk to you guys later.
I hadn't planned
This
on
the
it.
Fire and the Kid.
Plan on it.
We're out.
I always thought